They look like, by the way.
There we go.
If they're not moving, they look fine. But the moment one of those fucking eight-legged centipede-looking pandas try to move, yes, they look like.
Why not just make the Half-Life 3 cupcake and sell it to everybody, right? Even if it leaves a terrible taste in your mouth, people will still have bought your cupcake. And the analogy breaks at some point, so bear with me, right?
And this one time, my mom bought me a shirt, and I was in high school, and I'd been powerlifting and then stopped. So I was like, fucking 280 or something like that. And they were buying for 190-pound kid. So it was like a medium. And I put that on, and it was like a sausage roll with legs, man. And my mom would not stop demanding I put it on. And I'm like, put it on, put it on. Your grandma wants to see it. This might be her last year alive. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to die and have the last memory in her life be of me squeezed into this thing like a toothpaste. He'd have dinosaurs delivering your What if all you heard was a scratching at your door, and it's like,
It has really small hands, so it can't really carry stuff.
So it's like, it's got the box, but it's holding it like a like this. It's all, here's your pill.
You might need to package that.
It'd be a surprise mechanic. Occasionally, the box would open, and there wouldn't be a Tyrannosaurus in it. And other times, so what if there was $1 million in one canister? You drop a railroad car, soundproof, so you can't tell. You drop a railroad car, and there's either a rabid Tyrannosaurus, probably already rabid. So, but you get a Tyrannosaurus in one, maybe some guns on him, and then the other one's got $1 million. And you're like, everybody go there. And if you open the door, surprise, you get one or the other. They look like, by the way.
There we go.
Boom. What's up, everybody? This is Carrick with ACG, and I'm here with Johnny for the Best Gaming Podcast 536? 536?
Yes, sir.
536. 536 total podcasts, plus the side podcasts. So we've been doing pretty well, man. We've kept it alive. We kept it going. I mean, I don't know. I guess that's it. Thanks, everybody, for showing up, man. It's been a good ride. That's it. Give us some.
It's been a ride. We're done.
Give us some shout outs. That's it. We're done. We're done for the day. That's all. There's nothing to cover. Nothing at all. What you were telling me you started your vacation yesterday?
Yeah.
And got to
birthday vacation next week. I will turn about 1 billion years old.
I like how you said about as if there's some specific small number. Yeah.
Yeah. Taking some time to catch up on my reading, finish up Death Stranding, hang out with family. We're going to go eat a bunch of places and stuff. Yeah, man, just take some time back from the work.
Yeah. What like at work, what's the most stressful thing? Would you say it's managing people, money?
It's
time.
So we had a big release of our database platform that we've been working on for like almost all of this fiscal year. So it was a big stressful time getting the production release, because going from like a dev or prototype stage to production is just a massive jump where everything needs to be super tight. And there was a lot of stuff last minute.
Right.
But we made it work. So yeah. I'm happy about that.
Do you find yourself more stressed? Is it stress right prior then to the deadline that's the worst? Or like, do you like iterating and getting started, or is it like that's not as, I mean, do you like the stress? How about that? Do you find yourself like enjoying the stress?
Yeah, it's tough. I do like the pressure, let's say the stakes, the sense that it matters whether or not you get it right.
Right.
And that people are watching your space kind of thing. That's good, positive pressure. I dislike when stuff doesn't go according to plan, which is every time in software development, every single time. What's that saying? Like, your plan is great until you get punched in the face.
Yeah,
or something.
Or no plan.
Wasn't that
no good plan ever survives encounter with the enemy. Like it's like,
there you go.
No matter how good the plan is, the moment you meet opposition, it's like your only plan at that point is like a general idea of things you hoped would happen, and then after that, you know,
we did
go ahead.
So just to wrap up on that, we did like a kind of gratitude thing where we just hung out for an hour playing GeoGuessr, all of the team, just to relax and take a moment to just appreciate, like, hey, we got this thing done. And then some of us are taking a few days off to relax before we focus on the next thing.
That's pretty cool that you guys are, so you did like sort of a, let's sit down and talk about like what each one of us did well or something.
A little bit more so appreciating what we've done, because that's something that I try to push onto the guys, because there's always the next thing and you're on the treadmill again, now the goalpost is moved and you're always just chasing the next thing. And I'm a big kind of gratitude guy, like take a moment, take a beat, appreciate what we've achieved, savor the moment before we move on to the next thing.
Yeah, give yourself a little bit of time before you just immediately go back to the next shitty moment that you can have.
Yeah.
What have you been playing this week, actually, then, on your Monday through Wednesday? Because it sounds like you didn't get to work much, or you didn't get to play much in the last day or so with vacation.
Yeah, not that much, but I've been playing Death Stranding 2. I'm doing a lot of road building. I don't know about you, but I found the building roads really satisfying compared to some of the other stuff, like the trams. I forgot how it's called, the tram line.
Yeah, the tram line.
Really enjoying getting everything connected, setting up some infrastructure so I can move resources from like A to B and stuff like that, and just interacting with all of that. And yeah, having a good time with that. I also beat the bosses in Night Rain with a buddy, and we started playing the original Elden Ring in the seamless co-op mode.
Oh, really? Okay.
It's his first time playing that, so we're just kind of like exploring, chilling around. That's pretty much been it.
What, like with Night Rain, does it bother you to return to it? Is it just as fun now returning to it? Because I know you played a bunch with Silver.
Yeah, I think it clicked more now that I was playing with this other person, because it was their first Souls game.
Right.
So we were really invested, like, and he's kind of a competitive guy too, so he really wanted to like learn and how to get shit done. So we were kind of locked in a bit more and coordinating a bit better. So that worked really well. We did play with Silver as well a little bit.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, overall having a really good time. And we went through the whole list, like all the bosses, and systematized, the runs, like, okay, this is our pathing. This is how we think about priorities and everything. It's really fun.
Silver's always up for a gamer or 15 of that. Which is good. It really depends on the game, but it's like for the most part, he's always up. We talk about that sometimes where it's like, oh, it's been so difficult to get this person to play a game or this person. And I swear to you, this is real. The easier a person is to get a hold of, the harder they are to remember. It is absolutely a thing for me. So if I think it's because I like the struggle in life. So I like the struggle of getting a person to engage in a game. And if I remember the struggle, that's what I head towards the next time I want to do it. So I forget that Silver legitimately will play 10 out of 10 of the games. You just have to,
jump in.
Will probably be available. And sometimes you'll be like, yeah, man, there's nobody playing this game. There's nobody. And then I look over the Discord and like 15 people are playing. I'm all, dude, there's a disconnect in Discord, but there's a disconnect between my brain and like who's available for what. And it happens quite a lot. I'll see somebody in chat, in any chat, in other Discords even say, oh yeah, there's nobody playing this game, or nobody wants to play it. And I'll be like, I'm pretty sure I just saw yesterday like 15 people playing that. And then there's also putting it out there that you want to play. Sometimes it feels like you're asking somebody to date, but
True.
You're not. You're
it's like
I just want to play.
Whatever the finger thing is, like.
Yeah, and each one of you is pulling the controller back a little bit so you don't get close. What's up, Asa? What's up, Darkborn? Dion, Cantankerous Goat says, been playing Expedition 33 slowly, but only a couple nights a week to play. Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. SBZ says, currently playing Persona 3 Reloaded to encounter gig-ass enemies. Rip Hulk Hogan. Oh, true. Yeah, man, this week has been a rough week for deaths. Damn. Like,
yeah,
it's crazy.
Ozzy,
Malcolm Warner, the guy who was in the Cosby Show, the main son in that, he died swimming accident. He drowned. Sucks.
Damn.
Killing Floor 3 since yesterday. This is Robert, hooked on that game. We'll jump into Night Train when the 2-player mode release. Night Rain. I'm sorry, I've been singing Guns N' Roses all morning. We're on
Night
the
Train.
Night Train, bottoms up. And then Mulam is playing Horizon Zero Dawn and GT7. Oh, GT7. Wow, a racing game. I feel like that's a rare bird. We don't hear about that as much. Well, I've been playing a bunch of games, but I would say I spent the most of my time with, Wu Chang. And, like, here's the thing, man. I like that game a lot in places. There is a great deal. I know you said you hadn't got a chance to play it. I jumped into it, started playing it, didn't really encounter any bugs. It's really rough shape right now, though, overall, whether it be just it requires a lot for performance or there's a lot of stutter. If you go and you look on Steam, it's like, I mean, it's been at overwhelmingly negative a couple times. I think right now it's at mostly negative. But it's getting the shit hammered out of it, which, of course, we can talk about later, means nothing on Steam anymore. The Steam rating versus the concurrent, there is absolutely no connection now. I mean, we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
It's like we've seen games that are like overwhelmingly positive. People talk about it all the time, but talking about it is different than buying it. But I jumped into this. So it's got sort of two things going. It's got your main storyline, which is fairly well delivered, even though it's pretty boring. It's like the main storyline, you're doing this has happened to the character, you're going forth to sort of figure it out. Then you have the side quests, which are a little weird because NPCs just pop up everywhere. You'll be running around. You know how sometimes you'll sort of know an NPC will be at a camp somewhere? Like you climb to a camp and you're like, that's where the NPC will be. Not this fucking game. You'll be running around and you're a quarter of the way to the camp, and around a corner in a rock or near a rock is a dude who gives a quest. And like, I don't know if that's best, placing for some of these characters. And it's a lot. It's enough that I know when I was talking about it, I heard somebody who reviewed it was like, dude, that's exactly what I noticed. Like there's some odd placements here and there, but it's all really, so remember, did you do Bloodborne?
Yeah.
So Bloodborne has that thing where if they attack, you attack. There's sort of, it's better to be aggressive. It's better to like jump out there. It's better to sort of be front facing.
Tit for tat.
Yeah.
Type thing.
In this one, you have the feathering, which is somewhat the same, but basically what happens is you have this continual madness that rises up, and the more the madness goes up, the more damage you do against the enemy. But if you die with a lot of madness, a demon shows up and ends up fighting you. That's basically a copy of you. It's almost like the more you get, the more your spirit's pulling them towards you or towards the real realm. It's an odd system, but it's pretty cool because you can burn it off in ways, and you can also hold on to it in ways. So a player can choose how they want to play pretty easily by just one system in there, which is that. Then there's other systems. For example, all the weapons have a lot of the ability to build and burn that particular, or basically a particular skill set that's there that goes up and down. I think it's called Windborne. It's got a weird name. They're not skills like you would expect. They're not like, attack stamina or attack power or whatever. They've got a skill. I think I can't remember, Windborne Saga or something. It's very different.
That's the feathers, right?
It's the name of what you're raising and lowering. Imagine like an integer when you're doing a program or a variable, and you're like, hey, instead of just like A equals, you're like, what about abracadabra equals? And it's like, but dude, why are we wasting? So that pops up. It's so bad that in one of the skill sections, when you're looking at a skill, it has to scroll the skill to tell you. Because it's like, if you die and it's 20 to 40%, this happens. If you die and it's 50 to 60%, this happens. But if it's this and this happens, then something else happens. You're like, and because of the name being long, it's not just like your thing goes up. It's like, boom. It's like this big word. It's a very odd system, man. But you're playing it. It works well for newcomers. It's got some good systems with the weapons. Skyborn Might, thanks you. Yeah, Skyborn Might is just it's not, I don't know. That's not what I expected a power level to be named. I think power levels
like
usually
feathers, sky, there's some.
Yeah, but Skyborn Might is technically three things. Yeah. So it's like at some point, but So you're playing it, you're building that up, you're burning it off. You've got all of your moves really are based, or all of your overall defense is based on a dodge. So it's like Black Myth. So there's the Black Myth dodge sort of gameplay that pops up, and if you dodge really quickly in this very particular set of time, you get more Skyborn Might, and then that's burned off by the different weapons and added to with the different weapons. Penhero says, yeah, all the weird names are throwing me off. Yeah, it's definitely a little goofy. It's almost like it was translated in a weird way. And, somebody saw a single letter in Chinese and they were like, lucky, honorable, horseshoe. I don't think that's what it translates to. But
yeah,
you run around with these. I thought the weapons were actually quite enjoyable. The game loves, though, it's Dark Souls, man. It's so Dark Souls. It almost, well, it doesn't almost, it definitely hurts it. But it also, I swear to you, there were times where if I had gone to lay down, it was a little bit late, and somebody said, what did I just get done playing? I could have said Dark Souls without missing a beat. And that's not because the combat feels identical. It's that the landscape and I talked about this in the side podcast I did last week, but games like Banishers, games like a Dark Souls where they have the hub intersection systems always feel like it's a cavern they've chopped the roof off of. And you're really in a cave. Think about it next time you play a Dark Souls and tell me you won't pick up on that. You go outside, but you're not really, it's still a cave because you have these walls. You can't go past them. You have these different caverns that lead to the same spot. It feels just like, so you feel at some point, you're like, I think I'm in a fucking cave. Like all the time.
Yeah, it's like you're still in a box despite having the skybox.
Yeah, so there's that, and then there's a lot of ambushes. And it doesn't do the greatest job telling you audibly that there is one. So you can come up to a wall and listen, which is what I do if I get killed by an ambush. I immediately go back to try to see, like, did I miss a sound effect or whatever? Nothing, just this enemy. Just waiting. You come
their
around
entire life is
their
sitting
entire
behind
life,
that corner.
They're just covered in granola and shit because they've just needed to keep their energy up. But they only eat when they know you're not around, and the rest of the time they're just stuck still waiting. So you come around the corner. They've got some cool enemy designs, a lot of ambushes. The skill like leveling up system it's pretty good. It's a little different. You have red mercury, which is what you collect, and when you want to go up a level, you just buy the level with that, and then that opens up more and more a concentric ring of skills as you go up in levels, and each has sort of a branch for your weapons, like your double-bladed, your long sword, spear, axe. They all work quite well. In fact, I think that might be one of the things a gamer who plays these may have a small issue with, and that's that it's been balanced so much that I didn't find a single weapon that didn't just kill everybody pretty quickly. It's not a hard game. There's some bumps for sure. But as a generic, I actually was scared I was doing something wrong because I was killing enemies so fast. I was like, did I get a broken build or something? Because like these guys, they weren't like a Dark Souls where you expect to get hit maybe twice and you're dead. Here, engaging with 4, 5, 6 enemies, really not a big deal. So it skews a different way than Dark Souls or Black Myth that way. But yeah, so you've got the weapons, you've got later stuff that's very cool. I won't spoiler some of that with some powers. And then I would say the other thing is the bosses. I like the designs of almost all the bosses. I didn't necessarily love the attacks, and they do one thing that I adore, and you and I talked about it. It's one of the reasons why I'm so happy to be talking about this. Many of them don't have second forms. Oh, in fact, I would say a good number of these guys, when they die, they die. And I have to tell you, man, it is so refreshing, because what happens is it becomes, I have this and you have this. Let's see who's better. There isn't, I have this, you have this, but you may have this and I may have to use this. And that calculus that starts to boil up. This one is, it's like, usually you go into an area and you'd be like, oh, there's this, spider chick leaping around doing all these weird attacks, but you look at it and you're like, I can pretty much figure out what to do at this point. And then it's about your skill, your ability to dodge, how you've set up your weapons. You can respec at any time for free. So I would say that this is skewing towards probably the Dark Souls creator teams starting to realize that not everybody needs every game to be nut crushing. I think I agree with that, but I do wish there was one extra thing sort of added to this to because that extra intricate layer, if you like these kind of games, you may not find it. You may be like, there's not as much going on here. But a newcomer to it could be like, oh, I really like this because there isn't that level of complexity. There is with the names and with the Red Mercury and having a spirit jump back out and attack you, at different times can be like a little confusing because you'll be like, I'm comfortable. There's nothing happening here. And then boom, there's, an enemy. And you're like, whoa, that was weird. I got sort of ambushed without an ambush spot. But yeah, it's a good solid game for the most part, but I would say that the balance issues in particular and how easy it is, if you've played Dark Souls a lot or Black Myth and you were really good at it, like you, dude, I can tell you Liza P, way harder. Like, I like this world better, and I think it looks prettier in a weird way, but it's where, even though I didn't love Liza P, there was a bit more complexity there where it's not necessarily added here. But I think one of the best parts of it is the magic system, because when you dodge, you're building up that ability and you can buy magic spells and you can use them built on that. So if a person played a certain way, they could almost be a magic user, which that's pretty rare. And it also doesn't impact anything else. So you can still be healthy. You can still have vitality. You can still have a weapon. You can still have 2 weapons. You can still do the quick draw move if you have 2 weapons. All that can be done. But you can also cast spells more and more if you decide to utilize that particular situation, which I thought was cool because I feel like a lot of games segregate magic users as if they're their own race. Like in a game, you have your dwarves, your elves, your humans, and magic users.
You have to fully commit to that lifestyle.
So diving into that and seeing how it was, I got a little bit later. Well, I was doing something else, unfortunately, but I got it later. But I did get to dive in and put some hours into it. I do like it. However, it does have a lot of issues, and those issues are why it's at negative on Steam. It was overwhelmingly for a while. It's got a lot of stutter issues for a lot of people. Strangely enough, I know you've had this before, where you get the Magic PC. On this one, so far, 9/10 of the way through, no issues. So it's the way these engines go, man. You never know what it is. Is it because I have 64 gigs of RAM? It can't be the video card because I didn't play on the 4090. I played on the 3080. So it's like, what part of this am I not registering that's causing these occasional issues that even I get on some Unreal games that you haven't got, or you get that I haven't got? And well, I don't mean to say Unreal, because while it's known for that, it's not the only game that gets stutters. There's a shit ton of games. Yeah. I mean, they have stutter, but yeah, man. I mean, I think you might like it, dude. It's Game Pass, right? So
yeah,
I
will check it out. And by the way, I like the sphere grid. The sphere grid they have. It reminds me a little bit of Final Fantasy X, the way they had that. Yeah. Where it's not as much as Path of Exile or something where, you have one orb for plus like 1.5 agility or everything, but it's actually, I think it's either new skills or like empowering certain weapons, right? For the most part,
at least
nodes.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So,
and not
the fact that you can
power-ups.
change quickly, that's cool, man.
Yep. Asa, what are you playing, by the way? Yeah, the ability. Michael C. sent 10 the best ACG Gaming Podcast memberships. Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate it. Good man. Look at that. With the support. Appreciate it, as always. Yeah, I would say overall, you'll probably like it. I don't see most people not liking it. I don't see as many people loving it. But as a solid Dark Souls, very Dark Souls aligned title, I don't really see anybody playing it being like, this is terrible. Especially because it doesn't hold you back in that way that a lot of Dark Souls games do, where you can't even get into what could be good because your ass has been smashed like a tin can for the last 4 hours and you can't get past the first spearman, you know, and you're like, damn, this one is absolutely not like that, like at all. Instead, it is very much closer to, you can jump in, you can sort of control how it's going to be. There's going to be situations that you go into that are going to be absolutely rough, but there's also going to be times where you feel like a badass, which is also a lost art in games. I mean, dude, doesn't it feel like it's a lost art in game where it's like the bad guy has to have a backstory and the main character can't feel like a cool son of a bitch anymore, you know?
Not only that, but it's being to the point where the boss is so much more powerful than you that it's ridiculous. Like playing first Berserker of Kazan. You are the Berserker. You're supposed to be
berserking.
Just this, berserking. And you are tickling bosses, dude.
Right.
If you saw it, it's hilarious. Like the damage you are dealing to bosses, because you can deal damage through attacks. It's a little bit of the Bloodborne thing again, where you have a lot of windows to deal damage. So they balance it around it so that the damage, like each instance of damage is very small. So you hit them and that's just, you know, a tiny portion of HP. It just adds up over time because you're dealing time constantly. But it's that feeling of, dude, I'm supposed to be really powerful here, but this, you know, random spider guy, nobody is 20 times more powerful than I am.
Yeah. Asa, what do you think about Liza P? He says he's playing it. I'd like to hear another person's take on that. Dylan says Kazan's boss HP is absurd. Absurd. That's fun to hear. Yeah. I would say that, I guess when it comes down to it too, that also impacts all of the other gameplay. It's like if the boss is super hard, but the rest is easy, it's a certain style of Dark Souls game. If the boss is like this, where the rest of the bosses or the rest of the combat is sort of maybe, I would say, equal in difficulty or somewhat equal, it's fine. It's just a different style. It's like all of these games are fitting these different things. And I think that's one of the problems I get is somebody goes in and you find out that certain people like very certain or very particular Dark Souls games. This one feels like it's reached out to try to hit 3 different players of Dark Souls games, and it may not hit any of them, but it may hit a different group completely that looks at it and goes, oh, you mean I can do well with without just getting scoped, you know, the entire time, but I may have some difficulty in places. That reminds me of the way gaming should be. I mean, I firmly believe that. That is what reminds me of what gaming should be. Gaming has become lost in this metagame crap and this like misuse of everything. It's like, look how special we are. We're going to have this dichotomy over here. We're going to have this crazy thing over here. And it's like, do you think it'd be possible, man, if we can just fucking just play the game and have a normal power curve? Like, why is that so fucking difficult? I swear to God,
can we feel powerful at times too?
Yeah,
like, can
I feel like a badass? I don't want to cry for the bad guy. Don't give a shit about the bad guy. I don't need to sit here and feel bad for him. And also at the same time, if it's a game about heroism, can I be one? Because I feel like it's missing if you're not going to let me, you know? And yeah, I think I think they mistake that they need to make it nut crunching, and that's the hero's journey. And if you ever read any hero's journey, do you know why he's a hero? Because the motherfucker can fight like a son of a bitch and kills a lot of people and only experiences occasional difficulty. And those difficulties are there because it follows a classical narrative of the situation, the ebb and flow of a story or a book or whatever. And games are getting so the opposite way that for a lot of gamers, it can feel confusing. Jay Reaper, let's go. What's up? $10 super chat from the J-Man. The J-Man. Dub Bears. How do we join the Discord? You should be able to connect it and then follow the FAQ on YouTube for connecting to Discords. It's all done via them. Asa says, I would like the parry, perfect guard, to feel a bit more impactful, but overall I like it a lot. Or I like it so far. He's talking about Liza P. Would you agree with that?
Oh, gotcha. No, I thought the parry was really well done in that. And I'm not a big parry person, but I thought that game did it really well. where yes, it was tight timing wise, but it made sense based on the attacks, in the sense that you could learn it pretty well, and it was reliable. Unlike, let's say, the original Dark Souls, where parrying was more an art than a science.
Yeah, and art's messy, and you can have an artist put out a shitty painting. That's the way that game felt.
Exactly. Yeah. How do you feel about Wu Chang? Is it still a big part of the game to parry or like deflect and stuff, or is it mostly around the
it's mostly around, I would say it's mostly around the dodging, and picking and choosing when to use a special move, high or low. In fact, there's a skill that I've rarely seen this early in Dark Souls style games. There's a skill where you go low, really low. Oh, dude, that reminds me of two things. So this skill goes super low and then flies up, right, and hits the enemy. So people will go over the top of you a lot, which was interesting that they took the high-low, which reminds me of Surge 1. If you remember with Surge 1, they had vertical and horizontal attacks instead of heavy and strong, which I totally agree with. I think that was a great change-up. This one, though, it's odd because there are some skills in this that it's almost like they watched a Facebook competition of people doing weapon forms and didn't realize that those weapon forms they're not always about like hitting the enemy. Sometimes they're actually about putting a weapon down so that a sword that swings would hit it. There's a particular move in this game that I swear to God, it not only moves you farther back than hitting the enemy is even possible, but the attack is like down. So you do the move and you're all, dude, this move is going to be useful in like 1 millionth of the time. And you get it quite early. And I was like, dude, I don't understand this. This doesn't seem there's a boss or two it'll work on, because there's one boss in particular. I was watching somebody streaming it yesterday. Void was streaming it. There's a boss where I'm like, oh, if he had this weapon, this particular skill would be useful against that enemy. But there's definitely some times where you're like, that's a very ornate. That's what I would describe it as, is they've definitely hinged a little bit more towards the ornate martial arts movements versus the martial part of them, which I'm fine with. It is more art than martial in some of the specials, I guess. Is
not that functional, maybe.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah. Let's see. Some weapons in Wu Chang can't parry or block. Definitely a refreshing take. Yeah, I would say that's the other thing I like about it, is that you get to sort of choose how you want to go and what weapon you want to take into it and go from there. Also, I would say overall, I was hitting everybody. This is also one of those games that will have you attack in a direction that you're not locked into. So there's a move where when you pull it off, your guy leaps, or girl, sorry, she leaps completely diagonally out and then swings back to the side, which I think, for me, awesome. I was like, dude, that's exactly what I want. Sort of a weird attack that maybe I see an enemy coming in. I'm not going to lock on him because I'm locked on this guy. But what I am going to do is diagonal out, swing back, and strike this new person as they come in. Now, again, not use that often. However, once you get a move like that, that's where the magic in this game can happen, is you're like, whoa, I could do this to a boss, say. If a boss was running in, I could leap to the side, swing back to the side as that runs by. And it's like a movie where the Matador style moment where a character jumps to the side and swings their sword and kills the main bad guy, as they both get ready to duel. There's a couple in this game that are actually like that. They didn't reflect it very well. It would have been nice to sort of have that explained a little bit, is that, you don't always have to be facing or locked onto the character to have something be highly useful. And since they give it to you so early, I think they wanted you to know that. Like, I could say if this was given to you 10 hours in, it would be less of an issue. If it was maybe 1 hour in, like this is, maybe less, probably that moment you should have right away been like, hey, some of these moves are for enemies entering your range or enemies trying to get away. They should have been a little bit clearer on that. And then graphically, sound-wise, it's pretty good. Music-wise, I barely remember it. Definitely did not. Sorry,
composers, but...
Hey, I just have to say it like it is, man. That was one of the few times where I'm like, dude, is the music fucking on? Like, at all? So that was... I felt that was a little shifty. It just didn't seem to grab me as much. Yeah. dude, I barely remember it. Barely remember it. Weapon attacks, stuff like that are pretty good. Environmentals are pretty cool. Voice acting, hit or miss. Sound effects in that way, also hit or miss. Not bad. There were a couple times where the character was talking and you couldn't see their mouth move, which was odd for a game of this, I guess I would say, price point and level, that it seemed like a lot of times the character would be like, and you just hear him talking, hello, and you're like, dude, I don't understand why this isn't animated. There was, I guess you'd call it almost like shortcuts taken or something. And it could have been a bug. Could have been a bug. What else goes on in that game? Bosses, not a ton, but a good number of them. Oh, that's what I was going to say. The story, definitely disjointed as hell on the side stories. Like they give you more data about the world, which we just talked about a couple weeks ago, where how we like sometimes side stories are great if they give you a little shove in a weird narrative direction. But there were times where I was like, I heard it from Frankie last night too when he was streaming it. He was like, I don't even know what's happening, like, at all in the game. And I was like, well, that's not too different from a Dark Souls or whatever. Like, do you find it to be too different? He's like, well, it's because it doesn't have the Dark Souls lore everywhere. So there's nothing. So does that make sense? So because there isn't the secondary delineation or delivery, I guess, of information, there's an inherent feeling of like, did I miss a cutscene? Is there something that's like not necessarily being translated to me that I need to know? And the answer is no. The answer is you are that lady with the curse and you're out there to try to get rid of it or kill somebody because you got it. That's it. That's it. And then occasionally you'll get a cutscene that'll tell you more. And that's pretty much the game. Which
is it?
I'm okay.
Is it that you, similar to Dark Souls, you have to go out of your way to dig up these pieces of context and descriptions and stuff like that? Or is it just really there?
No, because even the way you upgrade stuff and do stuff, you certainly collect some things, but it's not, I don't feel like it was nearly the way that you and I have talked to Absy about with like lore in items. It's not the way it is. Also, you want to know something crazy? 99% of the shit you hit in that game doesn't drop anything. Now, I don't have a problem with this, but it was noticeable that it felt like a lean game. There were times where I was smashing boxes and my brain expected, fucking, I won't go there, but loot flying in your face. And to have nothing come out of them was like, wait, what? That's interesting. There wasn't even like the main collectible, that's all from enemies. So you're just like, that's a dichotomy. That's sort of, there's a difference there. Wizard of Smoke, $5 super chat. Happy Friday. It's been hard to game, been down the Black Sabbath rabbit hole, ripped to the greatest frontman of all time. Yeah, man. Ozzy Osbourne. Yeah, it's been a crazy week. It's been an absolutely crazy week with the amount of death. Like, dude, just so many people. Hulk Hogan, Malcolm Jamal Warner, Ozzy Osbourne, and there was somebody else actually too. I don't want to say they weren't as big as everybody else. They're just not in my head. They probably are. But Oregon Fresh says feels very AA in all aspects. Could be. But yeah, I mean, there's times where it feels really good, and then times where it feels like an indie. You know what? It feels like a game. Indie, AA, AAA. It's really hard to even know what that means anymore, right? Like sometimes what does it mean? It
seemed a little bit like Stellar Blade, where you can get in there, have some fun with pretty much whatever you choose in terms of like skills or weapons.
Right.
And make it work. I did see some difficult bosses, like some people were struggling in some. Like, I guess what you're saying is sometimes you will have the spikes, every now and then, like, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
And
there's that's another positive towards this game, man. There's not a lot of surprises where you go in and you're like, I'm going to try to do some, this person's invulnerable in all ways to everything unless it's Tuesday and your elbow's bleeding, and you're like, come on, what the fuck is even going on here? Like, this makes no sense as an enemy. No wonder they're still here in a cave, because no one's going to defeat them. That's not the way the game is set up. And I actually think that's a huge bonus to this game. It fits nice, dude. You have so many titles like this. You have your Stellar Blade, you have your Liza P, you've got the Surge, you've got Lords of the Fallen, you've got fucking what do you call it? The old one that you guys like for the PlayStation. mentioned it before.
Bloodborne?
Bloodborne, yeah. I was going to say Battleborn because I just saw a nice post about Battleborn today. But you got Bloodborne. All these games, Neo, can't talk about this without Neo. It fits. It fits. I will say the one positive about this is there is not one single part of this game where I was like, oh, dude, I hate it. And I can say honest truth, other than Elden Ring, that's pretty rare for me. Usually one thing in one of these games will piss me off. And I'll just be like, it doesn't feel right in the game. It's like, why is it here? And there's usually some developer who explains it, and you're like, dude, come on. That doesn't make any sense. This game really wasn't like that. So I think that's a huge plus. Fighting Cowboy I talked to just a bit and then watched his review. He seemed to genuinely like it. I think that's going to be the response. If you don't have the technical issues, which are immense. It's just I didn't run into them, but you look at it and you're like, man, immense. Now, people are probably thinking that because the thumbnail says, slop is the slopification of slop, they thought I was talking about this game. I am not. But I will say this. I did see somebody prior to Johnny and I hitting live on this, that somebody called this game slop. So that is what I want to talk about right now. Dude, that's the Wu Chang part done. People can ask questions if we go back to it. But I was telling Johnny, man, slop has become the sloppiest word in the human language so quickly. It has been absolutely turned into just a gutter snipe word in such a quick turnaround. It actually stuns me how fast it's occurred. It has become the catch-all that means nothing, so it can't catch anything now. If you say slop, there are so many people with so many definitions. It is absolutely turned into a disaster. So now when I see a web article that it will say the word slop, you're sitting there going, I don't even know what that means right now. Like, in fact, somebody was saying a game was slop, and then they spent 45 minutes saying the game was amazing, and there was one very particular area they didn't like, and that was now slop. And you're like, dude, I hate this shit because people will use those as like some way to sort of compress language, and they don't realize that it's already such a generalist word. Compression only works if you have the end data and you know where you're headed. But when you say slop, it means fucking nothing. Slop could mean it's sloppy, loose, right? Like you have no real clue. And now for a while it's meant AI stuff, which is weird because some AI stuff isn't slop. And it's just become this absolutely devastating and terrible way of talking about anything. Like, I'm not talking about AI. I'm talking about games. When you talk about games, like I saw somebody say, Call of Duty has entered its slop phase, and it is up to Battlefield 6 to win, or something like that. And I was like, number one, this is the worst fucking article title I think I've ever read. It's slop. But number two, you don't enter a slop phase. Like, it doesn't, it's completely against what, oh, dude, I hate the use of words. I will joke around about it, but that shit absolutely infuriates me. Especially when you're talking about something I love. If the game really has issues, be clear so people understand. Don't just, because you lack writing skill, because you can't put some words together, that's fine. Go use a sloppy AI. It'll still be better than you are. But goddamn, man, when you're describing stuff and you're trying to put one game that showed one single fucking trailer, and I'm excited for Battlefield, showed one fucking trailer. That's it. Showed one trailer. And now we're saying this is slop over here. This is the savior over here. It's like you are a fucking idiot. And dude, as you can tell, I'm frustrated. I do not like that.
It's almost like a binary where
but
anything
it's not,
that
it's
doesn't
opposite of a binary. Like, that's the thing that pisses me off so much. It doesn't.
Right, but in the way that they're using it, it's like
you're absolutely
it either stands out incredibly as a masterpiece or it's slop.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's flattened the level of distinction that you can have to a point where everything is in the same bucket. There is no, it is like compression in audio where you're taking the highs and the lows and just bringing everything together.
Yeah. So so exactly. It's like compression in audio versus compression in data. Compression in data has to be lossless. Otherwise your game's not going to run. But You
Right.
can do compression in audio, and you can compress that fucker down to 4KB if you want. It's going to sound like dog shit, but you can, and that's the way it's being used. It's like, dude, if you can't figure out how to fucking put some words together, I don't know, man. Like it's
and it's a good analogy too. Sorry, continue.
No, go ahead. What
Cut you off.
No, that's
I was going to say the audio thing is a good analogy because when you overcompress something, it becomes muddy in the sense that you can't discern, you know, different, you know, the highs from the lows, the mids from everything. And in the same sense, when you do this flattening of the definition where everything is now slop for games, you also lose the ability to talk in nuance about, you know, good and bad parts, something that's maybe a little better than another. There's no like comparison anymore because everything is just in the same category.
You know, it's even funnier that we get here to this part because we were joking that you cooked, you're cooked, they're cooked, let them cook.
It's cooked.
You're like, okay, but at least ED cooked, cook, at least you could possibly glean some data from the word use and the extra letter use. You could sometimes, but with slop, you can't say slopped. Well, you could, you know, he slopped around. You could be like, that sounds like a person who's got a real loose walk, right? Like it'd be hard though, and it wouldn't be used. But yeah, we're just getting to this point, and it's like, man, we're stuck here with this absolute like slopification of the language now, talking about games, which is, by the way, we're in the worst time of gamings and the best time of gamings. We have some great games coming out, but we're in an industry that has a ton of problems, and we're all demanding. These are the same people. These are the same people, whether it be gamers, myself, I'll put me in this group, you, whether it be gamers, ourselves, YouTubers, journalists. We're demanding the most data ever in history, ever. We want to know every single fucking thing a company did. We want to know what they ate and when they shit it out every day. Gamers are demanding every bit of data. And yet our language for discussing the games has dropped so dramatically when it comes to nuance that we are completely opposite that. So we say, I want all the data. You get all the data from a company and you say, well, that's slop. And you walk off and you're like, dude, what the fuck? You got all that data. Why aren't we using anything with it? Instead, we're now talking like we are the ones who are asking all this stuff and we're not outputting it, which I do think it also, not to be rude, because this happens to me. I certainly want to point that out. I think it does point to a lack of general knowledge on a lot of people's parts, and that lack of knowledge didn't come out prior and is coming out now. As the more and more data comes in, people who thought the myths of gaming, 1 equals 1, 2 equals 2, 1 plus 2 equals 3. So if this happens, this must be happening. I think that now, as we're starting to see, especially with us getting more and more data from developers and publishers, we're starting to see that our myths do not align with what's occurred a lot of the time behind the scenes. And so the only way to describe it, you can't break it down anymore because you don't have a math degree, or you actually don't understand finance, or shocker, you're not a developer. And so the only way to do it is be like, well, that's slop, and then walk off. You know, it's sad, man. It sucks. Sales numbers, even talk about this game is bad because it didn't sell. Yeah, true. What were we gonna say?
Do you think that it's also partly because of what people respond to? So just bear with me for a second. Like, imagine that the journalist has the ability to be more nuanced and use more intricate words and, you know, better writing. But actually what the masses might respond to is the highly compressed, ultra-processed titles that they can recognize, and they like that they recognize the word slop. You know, it makes them feel kind of validated in their bubble. And is there something to that, you think, where like it's almost audience capture, I guess, where the writers are now catering to what people
do you want the truth?
feel
you want
comfortable?
Me to pretend like the truth?
Yeah.
The truth is
Real
fucking
talk.
Journalistic integrity is supposed to not care about the reaction to what you write.
True.
And so if we sit here and we're trying to pretend it does matter, then you have to actually be correct in what you're doing and not care if the reason why is this or that. And this has happened elsewhere prior to slop, but it's happened elsewhere where we see the article, and you've seen me in
Yeah.
Discord where I'm like, okay, I'm investigating this right now, and within less than 7 minutes, been like, that article is by people I think a lot of us really like. You're like, that article is complete bullshit. Like, there's not even supporting. It's not only not supporting data, what they state isn't even connected to. It was almost like somebody said, "Hey, man, it's hot outside," and then the next person says, "So outside is on fire," and you're like, "Well, I don't know if that actually makes sense." So I would say you can't have it both ways. At some point, if you start to care about that, then who else do you care about? I mean, at this point, if that's all you're trying to do is like garner the clicks, that sucks. You know, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
At that point, it feels lost, especially when, and by the way, this happens with YouTubers. This happens with Twitch streamers. It happens with TikTok. I'm talking about an article because this article pissed me off, but I'm saying we as a human race, or at least the English speakers of this world, are misusing many terms, and slop is one that just pisses me off personally. That's more of what it is. And especially, like I said, I think the one great indicator of this though is that it's really showing how little knowledge people have in the areas they've talked about a great deal of time, and they're finally being outed by not being able to take the data or the information and break it down succinctly or correctly, or in some way, in a way that's edible to others. Because if they psychologically, sort of understand it, if they psychically, magically understand it, but can't pass it on, that's a problem with the creator, myself, or that's a problem with the writer. They have a big issue if they can't do that. But you can look no further than a lot of the Substacks, where the Substacks is the journalistic paper, journalistic like website. You can go, and a lot of game, financial people for gaming will go there. They're able to break it down. So maybe take some fucking lessons. Maybe those guys need to do some master classes to teach the rest of us. And the same thing happens to me. We saw it with the Sony and Microsoft leaks, where the number of myths people thought and had regurgitated and vomited to others so they could eat it was so high that when the data came out from those leaks, it quite literally broke people. They were like, Sony could have never done that. Microsoft for sure doesn't do that. And it's like, dude, you just saw behind the scenes, man. That is exactly what's been going on. Neither one of them are saving babies from floods. That's the reason why I put in slop. I don't like the word. It doesn't make a lot of sense. It didn't even make sense with AI stuff, because you've had people using AI and grammar and spell check for years. So it's like, it's really lazy, I guess. I think for the most part, so anybody who thought the game was lazy, no, it wasn't. Christopher Jetzer says, kind of like Chris Dring saying stuff about MS without knowing the data and then being dismissive when he gets... Yeah, so that did happen. I did see that. I do want to say, I think as somebody who's followed Chris Dring, he's one of the guys who does do a bunch of the analytics and stuff overall. He's sort of come up faster. Maybe he didn't understand. Maybe the data he had in the past fit what he was thinking, and he didn't check into whatever, but... he did say something that was patently incorrect. And then, he's like, oh, I asked for this. I was told this, but now it's been corrected. And that does happen. I'm not talking about mistakes. I can deal with, I think Chris genuinely just wants to, give data. It just went incorrectly on that one particular situation, I think. Let's see. They were the enthusiasts of not just the games, but the technology. I don't know what you mean by that. Good evening. What's up, Elucitin? Let's see. Slop is the equivalent of giving a 1 on Metacritic. Can you believe that? If it was, that's why it just doesn't mean anything. Oh, to add context, jump into chat super early, can't sleep. Jump into chat with Solar, and he goes, yeah, this game got a 2 out of 5. And I was like, dude, or 2.5 out of 5. I was like, out of 10? Oh, sorry. No, he said it got a 2.5. And I was like, out of 5 or out of 10? And he's like, oh shit, I never looked. He's like, that's a huge difference. I was like, dude, that's a massive difference. That's like 8/10. Yeah. At that point, we could be talking about a game that's, 50%, 2.5. I think that game is still playable. There's probably some still, but if you're talking 2.5 out of 10, that game might not even boot. That game might work on a alien console that you don't even own. Like, that's context matters on that kind of stuff. So, Oregon Fresh. Oh no, he said that. SBZ says so that means no Vatya 8-hour lore video. Oh, you're talking about Wu Chang? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he'll do it. We'll have to see. Again, what's up, Lucitan? Hope you're doing well. Moving on from there, we got some questions. We'll get through them, and then we'll jump into some other news we got, including some price drops, which I think everybody should be happy about. Shamon says, Carrick, I watch your reviews religiously, really agree, and can always understand your context. Thank you. But you disappointed me and I lost a ton of respect with your Oblivion Remastered review. That's one of the worst reviews I've ever seen. The game isn't a great port as it crashes all the time, and it's got issues with bugs and control problems from the start. Just wanted to say I won't be supporting you anymore. I think you've been bought off by at least one company. What do you say to that, Johnny?
I mean, dude, what do you say to that?
Well, I'll start with I totally support somebody dropping the channel. Absolutely support that. You should do that. I also support somebody being a fucking not dumbass. I didn't review the game. I never reviewed that game. Dude, like what the fuck? Like what the hell is that all about? Like that's the shit I was telling you about where somebody will say, I covered blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Brother, Oblivion Remastered reviews, the code was given out the day it fucking came out. I did not review that.
What did they watch then? Like what even happened?
I don't know. Fucking dummy, man. I hate that shit, dude. Because everybody tries to quantify that first discussion all the time with that kind of shit. I watch all the time, blah, blah, blah. Bam. And you're just like, dude, what are you fucking doing, man? Meet me halfway.
You've let me down.
That was a good Stallone or a good Schwarzenegger. Manganga says, can we talk about the delays? It's a good thing. Let them get good. Games are hard to make, more difficult to hit the perfect timing. Do you guys agree? Also, Carrick, rewatched your Walk in the Walk for LA Noire and picked it up on Switch. Cole's the man. So we might be talking about The Beast. So do you see this? Dying Light 2, The Beast got delayed for a month.
Yeah.
So I'm super happy about it. I have no issue with that. I mean, I agree. I think let them work, get to a better release date, whatever that may be. Previews seemed very positive. I don't know if you got a chance to watch any of the previews and stuff, but that it seemed genuinely to be fairly positive for the people who put hands on with that game. I think it looks great. I also think overall, I don't know about you. Well, I don't know. What do you feel about those games? Have you played both of them?
Yeah, I have. I have a great deal of confidence in that studio for that type of game.
Even though 1 and 2 felt different in their themes, I genuinely have no issue whatsoever saying I really like 2. No issue whatsoever saying I really liked 1. But also no issue whatsoever looking at this game and going, dude, let's go for it. Like, it's exciting. I mean, it's sort of a more horror based, but you've got powers because they've been performing, evil experiments on you. Like, hell yeah, let's jump to it. I think it's awesome. Did I already tell you the story about how this game came about and why it's an expansion?
No.
It's separate. So they were getting ready to make this game as DLC for number 2. Story got leaked. Entire story got leaked, got out on the internet. So they sat together. This is one of the few times this will ever happen. They sat together and were like, what do we do? And they said, let's go bigger rather than smaller. Let's absolutely blow the story out of the water. Let's make it a standalone instead of the DLC for 2. I think that's fucking awesome. How often do you ever, first of all, usually they'll just be like, oh, it got leaked. That sucks. We'll change a thing or two. And that's the way it goes. But instead to have a group of people sit down and be like, you know what? We like this character. We like what we were doing. We're going to blow this out of the water. We're just making its own thing and giving it away for free if you have the Ultimate Edition or whatever. Like, that's pretty wicked.
Yeah, that's
pretty
awesome.
Wicked. Yeah, love that. Let's see. Coming out initially at the end of August was pretty crazy. Happier for the new date. Yeah, I would agree. Right? Happier. I mean,
yeah, it's cool. It's cool to see that people are receiving that well. I would be
good point.
disappointed if like the reception to that was negative, so that it becomes a bad PR thing to have to delay if you need it.
Yeah.
I would much rather have it be like a positive for you to own up to it, so that it eventually also tracks with like stakeholders, investors, and stuff. That you saying you need to delay doesn't necessarily mean your investment is going to crap. It kind of means like, hey, we know what we're doing. We know what we need to make this happen. And I like that becoming more of a trend. I don't want to see it abused, right?
Right.
Like we've talked about, I much prefer having a vague timeline of when the game's coming out rather than a specific date, so that it gives you a bit more flexibility. So you can say like, Q3, something like that. If you're not, if you're not sure.
Yeah. Let them cook their slop.
Let them cook. Yeah.
Let them cook that slop. Christopher Jetzer, $10 super chat. Sorry, just had to say it, man. What are your thoughts on leak culture, such as Fable coming in 2026 or GTA 6 being 60 FPS on the PS5 Pro? Why do people care so much? But I guess I'm super chatting the question, so maybe I'm part of the problem. I appreciate it, because I was actually
self-awareness there.
Yeah. As somebody who's been involved and still is, but doesn't say, I say stuff on the side podcast a little bit, and definitely in voice chats, because we sort of have this running tally of like things that have turned out to be true, which has been quite high. I would say, I think that it's like anything. If you run out of leaks, you're probably going to find yourself grasping at straws to get your slop article written, like we were just talking about. So if you spend all your time inviting people onto your podcasts that are industry, or if you spend all your time doing just leaks, or you spend all your time even just devs, that means it's harder for you to do your own thing. What are you known for? Like, and I feel like a lot of people, I mean, we've seen websites created that's what a lot of stuff has to be restructured. A lot of companies have to do big changes if something gets absolutely leaked. But I also love me some data. I love a story. GTA 7 is gonna have, I don't know, time travel back into the Rockstar days of LA Noire, and I'm like, damn, wouldn't that be cool? So both ways, I guess. What about you? Like, do you try? Do you
look at it if they show like some video gets leaked of the next Wolverine game or something like that?
Do I look at it? Absolutely. Yeah. Will I share it? Probably later after everybody else does. There's been times where, you get a DM that's a movie or whatever, and you're like, dude, sometimes I've been like, why are you giving me that? Because I'm anti this for the most part. So it's like, are you trying to set me up to be like, Carrick accepted my video of GTA 8 or whatever? And it's like, dude, of course I would. But I would say for the most part, I watch, I'll watch it for sure. I mean, because I love games. So, if there's a leak about a story or something like that, I will absolutely watch it. But same with movies. I have no issue knowing the ending of a movie years before it comes out. Maybe it's because I read a lot of books and the ending of the book. I mean, let's be honest. If somebody says Hamlet's being made into a movie, are you going to be like, well, I hope they do use the nuke at the end? Like, what the fuck? You already know the end of all of it. So overall, you're caring more about the delivery and how it comes about, the acting, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I don't have an issue. What about you? Do you find yourself, I don't hear you talk much. I know you've been in chats when we've talked about some stuff I've heard, but like, even when I was telling, like last January, talking about the handheld things that were coming, I don't even think I heard you even, other than being like, oh, that's interesting. I don't think I really hear you react to leaks. You don't.
No, I don't really interact with them. Even if it's like video, I usually won't watch it because my thinking is, because my thinking is that's not what they wanted to show. That's not the product. That is like maybe a snapshot of where they're at best, or at worst, it would be misleading and maybe give me a wrong impression of what they're making. Very often, if I'm already, let's say I'm already convinced it's something I'm interested in, I want to see the final product, its ultimate form, not like the Dragon Ball Z first form of the boss. I want to see in all its glory.
Yeah. I understand that. Yeah. So overall, I would say, and thank you again for the super chat, Christopher. But yeah, I would say overall, there's no need for it whatsoever. There's no factual classification for why you would need leaks, but not gonna shy away from them overall. And I would say the number of leaks that have turned out to be absolutely false, that is sort of a cool classifier, though. It is sort of, as somebody who, when originally I was, I guess I would say, not informed, but as I was trying to glean the hints that were given to me, I was like, Kojima's working with Microsoft on Metal Gear, but it turned out to be Kojima's working with Microsoft on OD, and Metal Gear is getting a remake. So it's like, okay, well, those were right. I didn't parse them right, but it's like that data, that's solid data. That's cool. So you're part of the wrong, you get the right ones. That's sort of cool for a classifier of like, who knows, but who knows really shouldn't matter to a normal gamer. There's not much there because do you know who knows? The CEO of a company. And unless you're on the phone with Phil Spencer going, come on, bro, come on, man. I'll make you some sweet zucchini bread if you tell me, are you guys getting a GTA exclusive? Doesn't matter. No real positive or negatives around it. There's no real reason why it needs to exist, but I will watch those spoilers when they come out. Vapor Blood says, if Fable's taken this long, it better be as good as Peter Molyneux promised the original was going to be. Shit, man. What, 2 or 3 beat that? Peter Molyneux had, I think the last time we saw somebody fact check the things he said, the only thing was the trees not growing. So, should be better. Red Wolf Renegade, $5 super chat. Thoughts on Xbox Era making a joke in their Wu Chang review, which affected the actual score. Making a joke in their... Do you know anything about this?
I don't have the context on this one.
I have no clue what that means. Give me a second. Xbox Wu Chang joke.
Maybe related to the protagonist because she's like...
why would it affect their
really
score?
Sexy clothed. I'm just taking a guess of what the joke might have been. Sadly, don't have the context.
Oh. What? Deducted points because the main character was too hot?
Huh.
Okay. Okay. I actually... that was a summary. So I want to make sure that people understand that was a summary. There could have been more nuance. If the character doesn't look like they fit in the world and there was no reason ever given, then by the time you were done, that might have pushed you away from the immersion. So I could see you saying, they never explained why the robot monkey was in this, fucking time travel game or whatever. I don't know if I remove points for it, but it could technically affect immersion. I don't think her being too hot or a guy being too ripped should ever or would ever, for me, change a score. So, that doesn't... that doesn't fit. That's...
that's also what pisses me off about the slop thing, is that they will take a game that has that element of, like, a hot protagonist,
right,
and they will basically remove all the credit elsewhere in the game because they will say it's just, a gooner game or whatever the term is now. Where like Stellar Blade, they were saying, well, the game, is just a gooner game and it's all about the protagonist. And that in a way, that is a way to kind of discredit everything else that the game does really well, regardless of how the protagonist looks.
Yeah. Well, if somebody says it's a gooner game, I think there's probably 13 or 14 specific uses and meanings of gooner. So that whoever is using that as a description absolutely should never ever review a game again. If like you can't, if you have to use that as your slang and you can't eloquently describe what you're talking about and you drop a slang like that, that is going to age poorly. Because what if gooner means something different in a year? And now people are watching the review going, I don't understand. Am I a gooner? Are you a gooner? I mean, what exactly does that mean? Stupid. But no, I would have no issue with somebody having a big problem with like the immersion being impacted and stuff like that. Like if she was naked, people would bring it up, right? I did find it hilarious that the #1 defensive item you have in the game is a set of clothing that is basically lingerie. You know,
Yeah.
You have characters in games that are absolutely ripped and, you know, gladiators and just their underwear, all that kind of stuff. So the sexiness part to me is sort of, I'm accustomed to it, so it's not going to bother me. Yeah, no. So, yeah, I don't know. Dropping a point though. See, dude. Okay, here's why it wouldn't work for me. If your score is 1 to 100, you could drop a point, not really impact anything, and pretend that there was context to your gooner comment. If you're buy, wait for a sale, deep sale, or never touch, can you imagine a clothing option dropping me down an entire rung? Like that would be ridiculous. That would be like, because it would hinge on that one thing. So yeah, no, doesn't work for me. Don't like it. But hey, it's a joke. Who knows? I mean, if they drop the score a little bit and they know that Metacritic is taken so seriously by companies, that sort of sucks, I guess, for the developer, right?
Yeah, I think there's also this weird double standard where because it's a lady and yes, she's very like attractive, that's different than when you have like a really jacked dude like Kratos. Like you didn't hear anybody talking about Kratos being, quote, like sexualized, even though he was extremely over the top, muscle guy. But when it's a woman, whether it's near, whether it's somehow that's off the table, or
I can point out that I have mentioned those exact words about Kratos, but it's not going to drop the score. I'll be like, it is funny that Kratos is able to climb or leap,
right,
or run for 6 hours when he's that jacked or whatever. You make a joke, right? However, there is only so little clothes. If you're showing bush or something, then you're in pretty deep waters.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Hey, they do them. I'm just going to tell you guys, same thing with me. If I do something and you guys feel it lacks context, fucking leave. If you guys are watching them and they do something that bothers you, leave. That's really the strength that a gamer has. But you can also understand that if somebody joked, okay, changing the score number, I don't know if that was true. If you change the score number, you quite literally are impacting like possible situations going on there. Like, let's say if the game had an average of 95 and you made a joke and Joe Bob made a joke, and pretty soon it's got an average of 89 because 5 people made a joke, which isn't that out of pocket to think of, then you start going, damn. But if you're like me, who's known for joking, as long as I joke a ton in the review, but I still have a score that is fair and not impacted by those tangentials in anybody else who does this, you should be totally fine. Yeah, you should be fine. Manu, DOP 500. Hey guys, love the podcast. What do you expect from Stranger Than Heaven? Also, will Crimson Desert release this year? I think Crimson Desert will release this year. I actually do. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited for Crimson Desert. It looks like every bit of broken, cranky, Dragon's Dogma 1, back and forth, clumsy shit that entices me to no end. Like,
yeah,
I
fully expect this sort of like jank, the beautiful jank that it's equal parts,
like Clockwork Knight level movement on some dude, but at the same time you're like flying above a boss
with moments of awesomeness.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. That's there's so much in that, man, that if it's like those B games where they put some stuff in, they don't have the time to remove it because it costs money to remove, but they're like, hey, let's sort of tighten this up into one little section of the game, throw it out there, see if people like it. That kind of stuff is sort of exciting to me, except this is in the AAA level of money. I'm excited for it, man. Yeah, I'm excited for it. Now, he says, what do you expect for Stranger Than Heaven? you know what that is?
Right. So Stranger Than Heaven is the next Rokuga. Sorry, I don't know the name of the studio. The Yakuza studio.
Oh, yeah, the Yakuza studio, dude. Yeah, excited
Yeah.
as hell for that. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is.
Excited.
I think it was like in the 1950 era or something. They are recreating in Japan. That looked very cool and quite different. You know, the setting, the atmosphere. It's got a bit of that, like, you know, mafia-like vibe to it.
Yeah, true. Yeah, dude. What I saw of it, barely anything. Same thing everybody else saw. Doesn't look like reused assets, which is a huge bonus. I think I'm really noticing.
We don't need to see Hawaii again.
Bro,
I liked it, but
me too. But
we're good.
Let's be honest, man. You start playing this last one, and you start realizing that water is really just one of the like sidewalks in the game. They've removed the fucking buildings and put up, you know, like some rocks on each side, and you're like, I don't know, man. This is starting to feel really old style. I think this is their step in the new direction. Honestly, I feel like this is like their moving forward point for all of those guys, all of those games. Charlie says, "Where's the side podcast?" Side podcast is on Spotify, iTunes, and Discord, folks. If you're in Discord, it's or on Patreon, $1 on Patreon or more. Discord's $5, or you can be a YouTube member. You can also impact the topics I talk about them. But a lot of it's just, you know, sitting back there and sort of enjoying doing a side podcast when I have the chance. So Tuesday, Wednesdays, usually when I try to get them out. Red Wolf says he shouldn't have let the joke affect the score. It sort of invalidates reviews moving forward. Their reviews, I think. Their responsibility. Yeah, I think that's fair. If you think that, that's completely fair. If I make a joke, dude, the thing is like if a person's got a 10-minute review and they're throwing out a bunch of stuff and maybe they thought one thing and not the other, I could see it. I don't do scores that way, so it's up to you. I don't even like scores of 1 to 10 or 1 to 20 because you can have somebody look and go, "Oh man, her clothing impacted this." But if that was so goofy to them that it infected the game, they could change clothes.
Yep.
That's
you didn't have to wear the one where your butt is out.
And Stellar Blade had some questionable stuff that I loved. I also like it when I don't have an issue either way. Like if you want to be sexualized, go for it. Nier Automata technically is fairly sexualized as a game. I have no issue with that. Who cares, man? Like that's, dude, you get like, what the fuck? Why are we all worried about this? But at the same time, yeah, if it affects the reviews and that's something that affects what you are getting from them, you make that choice. And same thing with me. If you don't like my shit, same way. Christopher says, ACG, talking about games coming out, do you guys think Judas will ever come out? I know Ken Levine gets lots of time, but this much is concerning. Not only do I think it's not concerning, he's been pretty clear on what he has stated or like what his plans are. I don't think he's really got too much time. He's also stated that the developer or that the publisher is understands that his thought process and game development process is different. So it's cool. Let's see. Oh, Jay says our video's gone. Oh, it did. I froze. You're still there. I froze.
Oh,
though.
yeah. Okay. Yeah,
hey,
I wasn't sure if it was on my side.
Look at how high I look. I'm like, hey man. Oh, dude, it unfroze. While I'm fixing this, let me read a question while I fix this. It must be my phone might have run out of juicy. Let me find one. Okay, Mitch asks, Spider-Man or Punisher? And games or movie? Which are your favorites? Spider-Man or Punisher?
Yeah, definitely Spider-Man, I think.
Spider-Man?
Pretty much. Yeah. Punisher has been hit or miss for me. I like the movie that they did like quite some time ago. The show was kind of not that
was it balls?
Good for me.
And
what?
And which show? You mean Punisher?
Oh,
you weren't a fan of Punisher?
Yeah, Punisher, the show with
Barenthal.
Barenthal. I like him, I just thought it was a little bit too heavy for me.
Really?
I don't know. It just didn't kind of push the same buttons. I thought that the movie did a better job of playing with that character, the one with Jane.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that I really liked the movie. I just thought there wasn't enough. It's going to sound weird, but there wasn't enough fun ever being had in the show.
Right.
Whereas in the movie, it kind of felt that at least at times, you know, he was kicking some ass. He was having a good time, even within the framework of being miserable and having lost everything.
Yeah. ACG, that is preposterous thing to say. You can have that attitude, but it is completely incorrect and self-punishing. Number one, it's not completely incorrect. You need to understand what completely incorrect means. That's like saying very unique. But ignoring that for a fact, no, it's not at all preposterous. It's a normal thing that people can say, and it's fine. If he wants to do that, he can do that, and you don't need to push any kind of agenda. Trying to like control somebody else's freedom of deciding what they watch is really fucking weird. That's some next level fucking, I don't know. And it's like, we might as well just all salute, you know, some fucking bear out there who runs a certain particular nation and just be like, let's go with that. ACG, Spider-Man 2 is 50% off. Do you recommend it? I think I recommended it full price.
Yeah, I think so. I think even the port you reviewed, and that I think you liked it. You recommended it.
Yeah. Good game. I enjoyed it. It's a shame that we will never get another Punisher game. Is that true? Will we not get another Punisher game? Why would we not get another Punisher game?
It's a good question.
I feel like Punisher fits right. Like it had a popular TV show. I feel like we could get another Punisher game. Yeah. I mean, I feel like that at least. Maybe there's something I don't know about the IP. That would suck. Plague Souls, $10 super chat. What's up, Plague Souls? Sup? Finally started to play Neo 2, by the way. One of the best games ever. And I'm saying that straight up. Neo 2 is fucking ridiculously good. Took some time before I got into it, only because I played a lot of Neo 1. Anyways, awesome sequel. How excited are y'all for Neo 3? I'm very excited for Neo 3. Are you?
Yeah, absolutely. Those games are fantastic. The few things where they had to improve on was like menus and inventory and stuff. That's kind of been a staple problem in, I think, all of their games. Yeah. But the raw gameplay is some of the best out there, man. Like the dopamine in that is
They just feel fucking good to play, dude. And I'm going to say this. No one's going to agree. I have no issue with this. This is just what I'm saying. I didn't think that graphically Neo 3 looked that good. I thought it was an expansion for Neo 2. That is not to say that there weren't times where it did look really good. It's probably more of an indicator how good games are looking now, where games have a tendency to look really fucking good, even from, let's say, a smaller studio, let alone those guys.
Sure.
But it's Neo, and Neo looks Neo plays absolutely insane. To me, it's one of my favorite of the Dark Souls titles ever. It's just, it plays awesome. It feels good. Sexy game. Can you be a guy or a girl in Neo 3? Have we found out? Because if so, I want to dress them in nothing but a little loincloth and then lower the score. Facts. SBZ, the arcade side scroller alongside Nick Fury was super fun too. They put it in the Capcom remasters. Punisher with Dolph Lundgren. ACG Xbox reverse game price from 80 to 70. Yep, we're covering that for sure. All right. So, speaking of that, let's cover some of these. First of all, Outer Worlds. Dude, you and I talked about this prior. Outer Worlds drops their price. I don't fucking understand why the developers, why Microsoft went out of their way to tell everybody that the price is generically raised when we know that they have games that are for sure not planned at the high price. This goes for anybody. Any developer / publisher who states going forward in the future, our games will be at this price is like, so that means you're not going to make any smaller games because are they going to be 80? You end up by pretending to in some way put a line in the sand and a fact, a statistic, you're fucking everything up. They should have never stated that that game was going to be that particular price. And that would still allow them to do the price as they see fit. If they want to add $10 for early access, 20, whatever, they can do that. It was dumb. It was dumb. It was like Microsoft made a big mistake in announcing that. I don't know. What do you think? Like, does it make sense to announce that? Like, I mean, couldn't you just add some digital stuff and start raising the price if you wanted without telling everybody and creating this big hubbub and being like game prices are raised? It's like, no, Microsoft has already led the way in the early access department anyway. Many of their games are what, 3 days early, 5 days early. If you pay a little bit extra, add $10 to it and do it that way, right?
Yeah, it's almost like they're trying to get people to accept or to kind of renormalize what the floor is.
Yeah.
In some way. But I agree with you. I think the perception is bad. There are many like better ways to do it. If your only goal is to just charge $10 more, you have all these other ways
of doing it.
Yeah,
right?
Of doing it.
Yeah.
That makes me think that it's not just about wanting to, charge that amount. It's maybe also about setting, just kind of changing the paradigm in some way. And for some reason, they chose that game to do it with, which is also interesting. It doesn't strike me as the game to go to $80. Not because I dislike it. I'm excited for the game, but it's almost the situation with Mario Kart we talked about, where the game doesn't seem to warrant that jump as nice as it is,
Yeah. Dude, I'm telling you, man. Or it's a fucking conspiracy. Let's put our Illuminati hats on. Let me go and get my my black cloak and my little triangular pyramid crown. I can put it on. Or they stated they were raising the price so that they could then de facto lower the price to make everybody be like, good guy, Microsoft, listen to us. By the way, do I think that's real? Fuck no. But that would be hilarious if somebody thought that was a good idea.
Sorry, I lost your audio temporarily.
Oh, I was just going to say, and when you look at the prices for these, Outer Worlds does not fit this price scheme at all. Outer World fits, I think, $60 to $70, depending on what they're offering. I can't remember how much Avowed cost. Can you hear me now? Nope, he can't hear me. I can't remember how much Avowed cost. You guys can hear me, right? Yeah. He can't hear me.
I got you now. Sorry, okay. I lost you for that time, but we're back.
I just said the same thing. The $60 seems like a better price, and that the only other thing would be, what if it was a complete conspiracy and they had stated it was raising in price so they could turn around and lower it again and be like the good guy. Be like, look at us. We're now we care. It is what it is. Dude, early access is such a big deal for these games. Throw everything down. Be like, here's the price of the game. 60, 70. Thank you very much, Indio. 60, 70, 80. If you want to do early access, which I hate with a passion, even in single player games, I still think that's a better way of doing it than de facto raising the floor for all of them. I think it makes it's your store, your fucking store. You're the guys who are talking about going digital. Let that actually be a thing for you guys in particular. Be like, our thing is that if the game comes out, we'll give you a little bit, extra time if you want to pay that. Otherwise, it stays at 60. In fact, in 2, 3, 4 years down the road, that could actually be a positive for them if other companies did raise the price. But they didn't. Stupid. Don't know why they said it. Outer Worlds is going to be great, though. I hope. I'm really dude. I want that. I want that to be good, man. We'll have to see. What do you think about Outer Worlds in the level of AAA games? Do you see Outer Worlds? This is a real question. This is not me fucking around. Anybody in chat, feel free. Do you think Outer Worlds is a AAA game? We're not doing AA plus bullshit. We can do that other times. Do you think that's a AAA game, or do you think Outer Worlds is a AA game? Well, how about this? Outer Worlds 1, because you don't know about 2. We don't know how long it is. Outer Worlds 1. Was it a AA or AAA game. And you have to choose one or the other, even if it's 51% one or the other.
Yeah. I categorize it as a AA game.
Okay.
More based on my perception rather than the reality of how much it cost or what the team behind it was. I actually don't know those things. But the way that I experienced it was, it had some jank. It had a lot of charm. And it kind of struck the same notes of the great AA games that I like, while also having some understandable flaws in that level.
And don't you believe this is what I'm getting to. This is the entire point. You can't sit there, especially for somebody like me, somebody like you, and say how much you love AA games and say how AA games might be some of your favorite games of all time, and then feel bad for rating a game you liked as a AA game. But for some reason, talk to many gamers and they will start to hedge towards AAA just because they like Obsidian. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? If you're sitting there telling me all the time that your Banishers or whatever is a AA game and you love it, that your Vampires a AA game, Plague Tale 1 AA game, then why would it in any way, shape, or form like lower that overall rating of Outer Worlds? It's a AA game for cost, for your opinion, what you thought you saw or read about its size, about the team scope. It's okay. Not only is it okay, you could have the discussion, is at the top of the tier of AA games, which is also fine to say. But I don't know how we sit in a world where we're like, dude, do you know what I love, man? I love AA games, but Outer Worlds, I don't want to call it AA, and you're just like, dude, call it AA, man. It's fine. Also, I think that Obsidian is in a good place, and I think In Exile is too. They've got this thing, man, where they're Bethesda light. And I got to tell you how much I love that. I love Bethesda-like games. Like the idea of we're sort of doing this, but it's a little bit more closed off. We're sort of going to offer this, but it's a little bit tighter over here. That kind of stuff to me is awesome. So looking in here at the chat, I asked what people thought of AA. Okay, well, looks like every single person thought it was AA. Did anybody put AA plus? They're going to get called the fuck out. SBZ, bro, AA plus. I said you can't do plus, SBZ. What's your problem? I'm just joking, buddy. You're good. You're good with me. I can only play quadruple A games. Man, quadruple A. Damn. I think also, is it price, team size, cost of the game? What makes it AA? I don't think there's a good answer, because you could have a AAA game at a lower price because of a different company delivering it. You could have another company that delivers AA games at a high price. I think it's all mixed, right? It's a combination of stuff. Yeah. Moving on from there, let's talk about some more news, because there's actually been it was sort of busy, but not really busy, but also sort of busy this week. So they did the price thing. We had Wu Chang, but also, let me look here and find one we can talk about. I'm going to check this real quick. Do you have any questions in Discord? I'm going to verify I can talk about something I just read.
Yes.
Can you check that? Sorry.
Yeah, we got some questions.
Just something just popped up.
No problem.
Let me verify this before I blurt something out. By the way, it's not some big deal. It's just, I'm just being really cautious. Go ahead. What do you got for?
Actually, it looks like we don't have questions for today. I did have a couple things. If you want, I can bring something up.
Go for one, because I have a ton of questions from Telegram and patrons. So go ahead.
Okay, perfect. So I saw that Forza Horizon 5 is now the top-selling PlayStation 5 game.
Yeah.
And they were talking about, let me check here, 3 million copies sold on PS5. Look at that. That's expected for you, or that's a pretty big number?
That's a good question. Is it expected? Also, can we add Death Stranding 2 only sold 1.4 million so far, which I think is considered a little lower than what the expectation was. Yeah. So
okay.
I would say, dude, I liked those games, and I think they're genuinely amazing games. So surprised? No. I think that the best part of this is watching a PlayStation, podcaster or PlayStation game fan try to walk back hating Forza because they now own it because it's on their system. That's fun. Like I genuinely think that's actually quite enjoyable. But overall, I would say not too surprising because I think Forza Horizon games, for most people, are considered to be either solid games in a racing format genre they don't love, or just a really solid racing game that's fun. And fun matters. And fun as a price point. Price doesn't matter as much with fun, I've noticed. You can talk to somebody who really enjoyed a game and they'll pay a little extra or whatever. I think fun is the one thing that we've lost in game discussion sometimes. And that game in particular is solid fun in the same way Helldivers 2 will probably do quite well because it is solid fun and you will now have more people playing that. So not too surprised, no. I mean, I'm happy to see a racing game do well. I feel like racing it's just not a genre that's exploding anymore, which I think is one of the sad things.
It's not that sexy.
Yeah. Is that what it is? Is that, do you think racing games used to show graphical prowess for a new system, and because the systems are done the way they're done, that maybe the graphical prowess isn't shown as much anymore? And so therefore they don't capture the audience like a Drive Club did? I mean, Drive Club is mind-blowing even now, like that. But I mean, do you think that's what it is? Or do you think it's just as a genre? I don't feel like as a genre it's gone away, because I go online and there's thousands of YouTube shorts of people posting their best time in racing games all the time. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's a weird one.
I think it's gone niche in a weird way.
Really? I mean, I'm not disagreeing. So. I think you could be absolutely right.
Because we see those communities where people are super big fans and they are actively competing and stuff.
Yeah.
But when you talk to just your random gamer, I think what I hear is that these are fun side games for people, but I don't hear a lot of people being super invested in them like you used to in the days of GT2 and talking about like in the almost like I guess in the 90s or early 2000s,
right, where they were hot and they were used as a weird litmus test for the system's ability to display whatever graphic. Remember, I mean, the first time anybody was showing you lens flare, and you're like, oh my god, there's lens flare in this game, and then one game had 2 lens flares, which, by the way, with the way that system was displayed, there wouldn't have been 2 lens flares, but they liked lens flare so much they just put another one in there. I was like, dude, that's pretty sweet. So yeah, racing games, all games seem to have their own communities, but racing just as a forefront to a console, it's just not a thing other than Mario, which I don't think Mario is a thing. Mario Kart is less of a thing than Mario. I think if it had been a Mario game, third-person action game, it probably would have still sold well. That's not to diss on it.
Yeah, it used to be that you needed a racing game as well to launch a new console. Sometimes it felt that way.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And now it's more like, it's your side game.
I mean, side games are becoming such a big deal for so many fans. You're hearing about it all the time. There's just so many people talking about side games now. It's like, there's an old joke. I think it's Rory, the marketer, who says this for me. But the joke is, whenever a man gets married, he's vacated a position or whenever a man marries his mistress, all he's doing is he's vacating a position for another mistress. And it's like, that's what it feels like with the side games, is that if you're not doing racing, you found something else. But most gamers, I feel, they might have a main, but you hear them fall back sometimes. Like even in chat, somebody will say, I'm playing this, but now, I've decided to play Division for a while, even though they're maining something else. It's just, would you do that with a book? If I gave you 2 books, you knew you wanted to read, would you read 2 books, or would you read 1 book and then the other book?
Yeah, in fact, I'm reading 2 now. I have the one sci-fi that I started reading, and I have the epic fantasy one. And in a weird way, I find it okay to keep track of both of them.
Right.
I think just because they're so different, if there was more overlap and bringing it back to games, if you're playing 2 similar games, I find that tricky. Like, imagine playing 2 Souls games
Oh my
at the
God.
same
Yeah,
time.
that'd be tricky. That'd be tricky.
That would be tricky because the controls and game systems and everything are getting blended together. But if I'm playing, for example, let's say I start playing Wu Chang, totally fine if I'm playing Death Stranding on
At
the
the
side
same time on the
as
side.
well.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, especially when you play a game like Halo and then a play like Gears or a game like Gears, and one button is like throwing a grenade, the other one's like jumping or up close attack, and you're all, oh my God, this is going to take a while. And after a while, you're like, I'd rather not play both of these. Instead, I'd rather just sort of, stick to one main and then the side one being completely different. I also read multiple books at the same time, as long as they're fantasy and sci-fi or some kind of like autobiography and a sci-fi. I don't think I would read 2 sci-fis at the same time. That might be a little bit jank. That might be a little difficult to jump into 2 cyberpunk books at the same time. Like I'm thinking I'd get shit confused if I was doing that.
Yeah.
Let's see. How much is Forza Horizon 5? I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. On PlayStation, I think it's probably the full price, I guess. On Game Pass, it's Game Pass. JR7247 says, as someone who's into sim racing, it's definitely gotten a lot bigger during COVID. Still niche, but it's the biggest it's ever been. Yeah, that's what I was saying, is I always see videos of it. What were you saying?
Well, it's currently on sale, actually, on PSN. Standard edition is £41.
Wow, man. If you haven't played Forza and it's £41
Yeah, so maybe
that's 49
45,
bucks. 45
maybe?
or 49 for us. Yeah, I can't remember how you guys are right now. But okay, still, I definitely think it's worth it if you're a racing fan. Let's see. So next up, let's talk about the demonetization that happened on Steam and itch.io. So what was it, last week that Steam did this? Is that right, Johnny? We talked about this last week?
Yeah.
So Steam hid their adult hentai type games. You have to have I think you have to have a direct link to see them. I think that's the story right now. And Steam had stated it was because of basically what happens, same thing that happened with OnlyFans for a while, which is basically your Visas, your MasterCards, whatever, come together and they're like, something that you're selling, we don't agree with. Valve is big enough that they worked with Valve, so they didn't like cancel all of Valve's ability to charge people. But what they did was they, threw some weight around, and Valve decided that at least for now, they're going to make those basically unfindable. And then this week, itch.io just did the same thing. Now, all that being said, I want to tell some people why this is so fucking scary. First of all, if we're talking about them removing one game, it's one thing. But at some point, you're going to have a moral policeman. And this is the same story that we had with Meta, where Meta had employees who would watch videos and decide if those videos could go up or down. Meta's turnover rate was 100% because it was killing people who were watching it because it was terrible. Now in a game, you have to jump in and play it, right? So you have to decide what game is good, what game is bad, what game can fit on this. Whether it be itch.io, who also stated it was the chargers, the companies like the credit card companies who wanted these gone. But let me explain to you why this is fucking haunting. This group is called Collective Shout, and they're like a anti-abuse group, really anti a lot of stuff group, including GTA, which I can understand a tiny bit more at times, Detroit Become Human. They've gone after Detroit Become Human. I still, to this day, I cannot figure out why they would go after. There must be a moment in Detroit Become Human where nipples are shown or something to that effect. Because nothing, people die, but people die in every game and they're not going after every game. So there's a picking and choosing there of particular games they're going after. But listen to this, man. They also went after a game called Consume Me. And this is one of the games impacted by this. All it is a game about an eating disorder. That's it. Oh. That's one of the games that's impacted by this change. And to me, I feel like for the last 10 years, I've been hind sucking on the tit of, flasks in Dark Souls. I have an eating disorder. In many of the games I play, you're sitting there chowing down on fucking grub while you're shooting people in the face.
Yeah, every
Those
2
aren't
minutes.
listed in that. Yeah, so that could show an issue with Steam's, how they categorize what they need to do. Steam's ripping what, 30% from every single developer just to be on the store. And that's something that developers are starting to finally fight against. I think for a long time, nobody wanted to say anything bad about Steam because they had such a superiority in all ways. I think now you're starting to hear a lot of developers be like, dude, they need to drop their price. If Steam's getting 30% from every single developer all over, they can figure out a way to hire people to, or figure out systems to be a little safer on this kind of stuff and remove the really bad stuff. But the reason why this scares the shit out of me is because bestiality is illegal everywhere. Baldur's Gate's got bestiality. So at what point is somebody going to start going after all of these things?
Yeah.
Is an alien and a human fucking? Guess what's going away? Mass Effect. And people will think that's me blowing things out of proportion. It's not only not me blowing things out of proportion, it's quite literally within the actual framework of these threats that the companies lodge against itch or Steam. It's in there. It's like, and it's so vague on purpose. It's like, we don't like some of these, you know, questionable things. You need to do all this stuff. And if people kowtow, I understand why Steam did. They stated it would affect, you know, if it got turned off, it would affect all games. But what these guys need to do is get all their fucking cash together. Gabe can sell one of his 8 yachts because he's got 8. Sell one. Like, if you've been sitting there high lording in your fucking throne made of the bones of developers that you've continually grifted 30% off of for 20 years, you fuck. You need to take your goddamn money and you need to figure out a way that your store can protect the goddamn people who are on there so that you don't sit here and in 5, 6, 7 years down the road, you have some moral police from some backwards fucking county who are able to control your entire store. And both of these guys collapsed, which I understand the collapse because they weren't prepared. How the fuck are they not prepared, though? How did these guys not figure out that they should have taken care of this day one? And yes, I do blame Steam. Yes, I do blame itch.io for not being prepared and not figuring out defenses against that kind of shit. That is solidly on them. They've been grifting people. Itch, less so. Steam's been grifting developers for years, and it's taken this long before you start to hear these developers coming forward and being like, you need to drop your price. Like, you know, you're taking all this. Dude, look at what their store is. It's an app and a store, and you're telling me, where's all that money going? Like, that, some of that money could go to the defense of the fucking things you're selling. Take care of the people that you supposedly care and cherish about so much, and go out there and control the people who are coming after you. Lodge a defense against this shit. Because now we're looking down the line of, what if I say something to the podcast? Everybody's like, okay, we're just going to come after Carrick. It's like, all right, well, that's on me. But I don't want them making an arbitrary rule that's going to be a catch-all for Baldur's Gate or a catch-all for, dude, any of these games. Fear 2, you're raped by Alma, right? Isn't that her name? Alma? So is Fear 2 going away? I would say that's... You may think that some of these are safe because they can hide behind the veneer of fantasy. So you might say Baldur's Gate 3 is clearly fantasy. Oh, no. That has nothing to do with it.
You know what I
mean? The game
mean?
itself is fantasy. There's no... Yeah, that wouldn't even hold a line anywhere. That would be a really bad way to try to defend it. Yeah, they would lose instantly. In fact, if you stated their fantasy, that would actually give the opposing counsel the ability to just be like, oh, they all are? And you're like, well, no, what we're saying is, then you have to define fantasy. Like, nobody wants to wake up in the morning and define fantasy, man. What those companies need to do is make sure that getting in is impossibly hard. Make sure to actually control your shit. Make sure that you have people checking this stuff consistently. Don't let a game get on there that's like Hatred, I think, was one of the games that were on there. By the way, I've lived through this already. I mean, there was the game where you could use a cat as a silencer. You could use a cat, Postal. Postal let you pee on people, had a cat as a silencer. People all threw a fit, which I get. If you want to throw a fit, it makes sense. You don't like that. You get to control what you don't like. But that group that's selling it, they need to make sure that they control it so that they are pretty well ironclad against these companies lodging such arbitrary threats that they're able to shut down everybody else. Or use the worry that they are going to shut down the entire thing. That's scary as hell, man. Like, that's frightening to me. Yeah. There's so many games, man. So many games out there where you wouldn't think about it, and then you're like, oh, damn. I did this in this game. I did this in this game. It's like, you know, and some of them tell really good stories about horrible things that have happened. That's okay to do. It's okay to explain like an eating disorder. A fucking eating disorder? Like, how is that in there? How is that something that gets picked up? How did Detroit Become Human get picked up, man? Like
I mean, are we going down the route of censorship like they do for Wolfenstein 2, you know, where they show a different faction in Germany?
Yeah.
So they call it like differently, so it's not as reminiscent as Nazism.
Nazism.
Like Nazism, yeah. I mean, it's tough because now if they hold the line of what's acceptable, they as in the credit companies and stuff, they also get to move that goalpost later. They might say, well, this is where we set it originally, but now we're saying this is not acceptable or this level.
Yeah. You know what's even creepier about this too, Johnny, is you just singulared the plural, which I think is hyper interesting. Do these guys, these credit companies, get to choose blah, blah, blah? And it's like, but the credit company has multiple people in it. How did somebody at the credit company, how did somebody there go, why are we going after? Wait, what are we doing? Like, why are we shutting everything down? Like, what's happening? There's got to be a Steve in the room. Like I said, all the time. There's always got to be a Steve who's like, whoa, what the fuck are we doing right now? Like, not only that, but that's hurting. That company's probably making some money for the way the credit works. And so you would assume there's somebody in there going, we can make more money by being diligent and sort of controlling how everything goes. And from what I understand, they back down from OnlyFans. So it's very interesting to me that they back down and that OnlyFans is still able to, and yet those games. And it's the interaction, I'm sure, right? It's got to be the interaction. And it's got to be a reaction to a very real thing, which sucks, which is shootings and those kind of situations. And if you have an interactive game, blah, 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 blah. You know, I can see that road. Like, it's not too hard to look at that and go, I understand where somebody's worried about this, whether they were directly or non-directly impacted. But at the same time, let's say somebody's telling the story of how to deal with the psychology after a shooting. Would that be removed? Because that would be a disservice to everybody. Imagine a game that is trying to teach how to get rid of PTSD, which there are a couple games to do this. But imagine that kind of stuff. And now we're going to be like, oh, those games are also removed from this list. So yeah, it just pisses me off, man. It frustrates me to no end that they haven't been so well prepared for this. You know, the fight between Sony and Microsoft and Activision and the Fed about Microsoft buying Activision? Why is it not a bigger story? I don't give a shit if these two companies or three companies are banging one another. Like, worry about that, fine. But removing and censoring basically a ton of shit, how is that not the number one story? And how is that not like requiring huge steps to even lodge the threat, let alone? And it's because it's a service being offered. The question I got, I'll read it right now. Somebody had asked, are they going to go to Bitcoin payments? I don't think so. But I feel like Bitcoin has its own worries. I don't know if you want to... A store accepting Bitcoin still feels shady today, even though I've owned Bitcoin. Like, I don't know what it is, Johnny, but it's like there's something about the what's weird is if I have $1 and I gave it to you, 2 days later, could you look at that dollar and go, that was for sure given to me by Carrick? Now, you can do that in the U.S. Bank Department, obviously, but I can pay you various ways through your bank through anonymous means already. And Bitcoin can be tracked now. So it's like, maybe you put Bitcoin on. I mean, obviously it would impact Steam dramatically in the negative, but at the same time.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, it's still a large, they have large sway. Credit companies do.
Yeah, definitely. Near creator Yoko said this. He asserts the ability of payment processors, which are deeply ingrained in the entire infrastructure of content distribution, to be able to act at their own discretion is dangerous on a whole new level. Naomi Clark was a game designer and chair of the New York Game Center, states that adhering to positions that prohibit games about serious things or anything that a child just could not see hamstrings not only art and communication. Yeah, I mean, the child thing, I do feel that some of it comes back down on the person. How is that child getting into the systems? We could put controls on that. I think that would be great to put controls on that. And then it states here, platforms like Steam and itch.io apparently need those payment processors way more than the payment processors need them. Which, if that's true, then fuck that. They should have been prepared for this 10 years ago. If that's true, and you're being, Johnny, come on. If I hired you for a job and you knew I had all the control over you, you'd be always planning or trying to figure out ways out from under that control, right? You know why? Because your IQ is above fucking 10. So the idea that these companies have spent this much time and they haven't figured out a way to put all this shit forward and be prepared for a defense for this pisses me off. That infuriates me. Could use stablecoin just for censored games, but shouldn't have to resort to that. That's true. Yeah, stablecoin might be the way to go. Next up, the age of game mechanics is over. This was stated by the Shadow of the Colossus director. He stated when he was talking about games that his idea is to reiterate and iterate on mechanisms pretty much already done and mechanics pretty much already done in games, and that his idea of a new mechanic being delivered it isn't really a thing anymore. First of all, I disagree completely, but that's just me. I feel like a mechanic can happen. The Nemesis system didn't require anything other than people coming together and deciding on a different format for something. And I think most people consider that a new mechanic. Would you agree, or do you think that maybe we're just getting the risk adverse way we're making games right now? Maybe they don't want to put a mechanic in?
Yeah, I think that there's also a situation where there was a lot of low-hanging fruit to be discovered in terms of mechanics. And we're now almost like the status with science, where, sure, we discovered a bunch more stuff, in the early 1900s or whatever. Right. But there was a lot more stuff ripe to be discovered. Mm-hmm. Whereas now we have, sure, we don't know a lot of stuff, but we can make some really damn good predictions, even at the atom level. Mm-hmm. and beyond it. So to now say that it's a failure of science to deliver new discoveries, I think is wrong. And in the same way, I would say, I would argue that we've built a lot of stuff on top of those mechanics that were discovered by people like, Ico and Shadow of the Colossus devs. Mm-hmm. They had some good foundational stuff that has been used in a lot of games. But I would say that it's a lot harder now for you to come up with something that looks like completely unexplored and that nobody has done before, by definition.
So, okay. Yeah.
Does that make sense? Does that track with you, or am I missing something?
No, it makes sense, because I was thinking about Drivatar system. I thought that was for sure a new mechanic and quite well done, very enjoyable. I think the Nemesis system, but I hedge on the idea that it is quite possible that I don't know enough about games and I'm not making them every day, that I am saying it may not be as easy or whatever, but in real life there could be developers every single day saying, here's a new idea no one's ever done. Because I feel like if you look at the Nemesis system, if you and I sat down for a couple of days and said, let's try to take the idea of what occurred there and move it to a totally different thing, even though we're adjusting it so that a person who looked at it wouldn't say it was the Nemesis system, but the idea of a trinity of changes that occur and adjustments that occur via your activities in the game, I feel like you could do it. But I also feel like just because there's a really cool idea, it doesn't mean that they are going to do it. It costs money to create that new system. So I just feel like the idea of saying new mechanics are out doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But I would say that also it depends on your description of mechanics, right? Like, what's the newest? What's a game that's come out with a new mechanic that you remember? We use Nemesis system to so easily describe a new mechanic. Drivatar. Yeah. Is there, and by the way, I'm not putting you on the spot. If you have none, that's totally fine. I was just wondering, anybody in chat, by the way, same thing. If you have is there something that you think is big enough to be called a true new mechanic? in the last
it depends your definition too, because there are lots of small new mechanics and like innovation in mechanics. Like we were talking about first Berserker of Kazan. They have some really unique, innovative mechanics in the game. The way that you can not only parry an attack, but then from there you have specific attacks that you can like follow up through that.
Okay.
And through doing it, you can basically find a way of like hit through enemy attacks, or like right after. Like there are a bunch of certain things that are conditional to doing a certain other thing. So if you do a dodge in the right time, you now can do a certain ability or attack. So lots of like conditional things like that. Those are all mechanics. And I think those are innovations when you compare it to like Dark Souls combat, where everything...
Where it's just sort of one,
Wu Chang, where everything is kind of, this is your attack. You know, the conditional aspect, you could say, is a mechanic. Lots of Metroidvania games that are, based on exploration will have cool new spins on mechanics. Like, oh, now you have the ability to traverse terrain in this unique way that allows you to backtrack to areas and access different places. There are lots of like small things like that. And I think, again, by definition, these are the things that people will discover and will innovate on, rather than like one big thing that you could point to as one grandiose mechanic that has been discovered.
Lucitan also says Warhammer Online, the Tome of Knowledge. So I played Warhammer Online, and I don't remember the Tome of Knowledge. Can you describe what that is, Lucitan? Because, man, that game, I love that MMO. So here's one that could be. It could be. And I do believe that it requires a lot of programming to get it right, especially in the format this game is attempting it. I think Clockwork Revolution's changing of the entire environment, depending on who or who doesn't die, and you able to go into the same level, but it dramatically changes. While that has been done at times prior, and we're starting to see developers do more and more, it seems to me like the idea of entire character looks changing. That, I think I would say, is definitely on the road of saying that is a whole new ass way in which we do things, as long as they collapse all those changes and we see those changes reflected. But
I got another one along those lines too. Lords of the Fallen had the lantern where you could see, could see the other world, right? And it was a completely different world overlaid on top, which was awesome.
Yeah, dude. The Umbra idea when you, in number 2, I think it's number 2, when you die and you can fight your way out of it. That was, I mean, I don't even know.
That was big.
It was big though. Yeah. I mean, I don't even know. It is sort of a mechanic, but you could also say it's just a new death mechanic. So we can at least go there. That's why I'm saying, when I hear somebody say this, you know me, prior to the podcast, I was like, he stated this, and I'm like, I'm not quite sure I even understand why that's a thing. I did read the article. It was a little bit more nuanced than, a typical title on an article says. But I agree with you, man. Spells and New Worlds too. Now that's not new. As Rogerio says, that's old as shit. But Spells and New Worlds 2 is something you will hear any fan of B games and like RPGs, almost every single person, whether they like that game or not, you will hear somebody be like, but holy shit, that fucking spell system. So yeah, that's very cool.
I was thinking of Ghost of Yotei, how they do, is it Yotai?
Yotai. But what about it?
Yotai. The thing where you can go to the past you go into an area and you can basically flip between the present and the past so that you can experience the area, I think, seamlessly in whichever way you choose. That's a cool...
Yeah, it's a cool mechanic. Yeah.
I
don't know. I feel that's weird.
I think even things like day-night cycle I view as a mechanic.
Of course, yeah, for sure. That's
Dragon's
why I was
Dogma,
saying new didn't make
the
sense.
The duality.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And that can be a new mechanic in the way it's done, even though it's not new. as a concept.
Shadows.
Because for me, like
AC
day
shadows,
night, yeah,
changed a shit
Right.
ton with weather. So
yeah, exactly. Weather systems and seasons, right? The
Yep.
way they did it, I would argue, is maybe the best like season system we've had
I think, yeah,
in a
I think
game.
so. May not be
right?
perfect, but
It ties into the gameplay really well.
That was
It changes the areas in a radical way. And I think a lot about small mechanics too. Like I was saying, before, trying to think of a good example of like a small mechanic that made a splash where people, well, actually Avowed had a really solid spell
they did.
system.
Yes.
Like
yeah.
the mechanics of, that hitting stuff with them felt good. Like the areas
and the tone,
worked,
the
it made
ability for
sense.
you to double up the power of a spell that you
Yeah.
now know intrinsically, if you're holding the tome, was, I don't know why, but that was genius to me. Because I'd always been like, oh, once you have power up, you don't need the tome anymore. And they're like, well, here, if you have the tome in your hand and you know the spell, you're going to do more damage. And I'm like, oh, shit. That's what a brilliantly small but like impactful change. And it also fits to the fiction of all of us leaving a bunch of books behind, like, readers who are done with your book if you just threw it over your shoulder. And instead in that game, they're like, well, why don't you hold on to it? And it's fucking sweet. Yeah. Yeah, that's true, man. I hadn't thought, dude, that was a good point about Avowed, because I hadn't even thought about that one. Let's see. Oh, that's no big deal. Okay, I can skip that one. All right, go into questions real quick, and then we'll get back on to blah, 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 blah. Can we talk about the delays? Nope, we read that one. Detour says, Rogerio says, Invisible Ink was a turn-based espionage style game that's fairly unique too. Oh, they're just talking about random stuff. Detour says, I didn't like the new Superman movie. Now that I've misused your stage, let me say how much I fucking appreciate the Friday Carrick and Johnny podcasts, and the side podcasts, as you call them, or side potties. Both are different. That brings me to the question. You've done Let's Plays, reviews, previews, and the walking things. What would you like to try next? Keep on keeping on. That's a good question. Shit.
React's content is the next thing.
Yeah, I mean, like I would do a React, but I'm trying to think if there's a new format in YouTube or not. I think it changes. So, for instance, it used to be solid quality footage, professional voiceover, or somewhat professional voiceover, no faces. Now everything is your face, and your voiceover can be dog shit. And it just depends. And they both sell. You can do a faceless channel and do quite well. In fact, you could be number one. We've seen there are people who still do faceless channels, or for the most part, Gamer Ranks has one or two people you see their faces, but a majority of their stuff is still completely, and a lot of it's built on their past. Yeah. But then React started, and then there's like, what is it called? Sludge content on Shorts, which is where you split the video. You do the thing you're talking about on top and a completely, absolutely separate thing on the bottom that has nothing to do with what you're covering, so that a person who gets bored doesn't click away, which I thought was genius. I didn't even know that was a thing. Rory was talking about in one of the videos. He was talking about how ingenious it was that at first you would think people would bitch, but there was curiosity because no one told anybody. So you'd hear Joe Rogan. This happened all the time. It would be Joe Rogan for probably the first 3 months of this content. It was a not Rocket League. What's the one where you're driving around, the Ubisoft game? Tracks. You're driving around on tracks as an F1 car, and there's stunts. Trackmania. It would be Trackmania, and then it would be friggin' Joe Rogan going like, did you see the video of the bear? And you'd be like, what the fuck? Is Joe Rogan playing?
Yeah.
Like, I was so confused
by
the content.
Minecraft,
yeah. And it would be completely, I mean, I'm like, I've got it on my list to look into. I'm like, that's ingenious, because I wouldn't go random. I would try to in some way make them thematically make sense, but that could be fun in and of itself to do that kind of footage and be like, all right, so if we're going to talk about bears and Joe Rogan on the top, what do we put on the bottom? And it's like, could you do an inside joke to where, it's China and it's Winnie the Pooh or something, and he's a bear? I have no clue, but you could mess around and it could be fun. That's a weird content. I can't think of anything else I want to do. really enjoying what I'm doing right now, and got some stuff that's started already. So yeah, reacts.
What about stuff like what Fighting Cowboy does, where he does a playthrough, he does a walkthrough with like
I'm doing everything I
how
can
people
to
can play.
make it efficient on my own with reviews, and then other videos. I don't have space to do reviews, then also play again. And because when I play on my own for review, I'm not talking. I'm not going to record while I'm.
That would
I'm
also change the way you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He and I have actually discussed like like what I do, what he does, how I do it, and we're completely separate in how we even go about, which is fine, which is good. That's why like if we're talking about something, I'll be like, what did you think of this? Well, he's got a different thought process completely. And so it's like, to me, that's exactly what I want. That's one of the reasons why whenever anybody says, hey, you're an independent reviewer, why don't you agree with everybody else? And I'm like, independent reviewer, dude. We're gonna disagree. That's sort of what you want. But yeah, I love that he's done such a great. Fighting Cowboy is very. See, Fighting Cowboy doesn't spend a lot of time discussing the behind the scenes unless you're with him, or you invite him on and he's talked with us. But I will say his work process and thought process is clearly defined and completely locked into what he's doing. And even if you can't do it, when I've heard him talking about what he does, and he says the same thing about me for reviews, but it's like, and that's fine. But I think you can look at somebody else's stuff and say, man, that is, I mean, because to me, I would say he's probably, if not the premier person I watch, he's got to be one of the highest that I've ever watched, because I don't think he's involved in, I don't even think he would become involved. You may dislike, a review he gives or a score, but I feel like ultimately if he likes something, he'll just be like, motherfucker, and I sort of dig that. He's not sort of the, caught in the quagmire of best friendage that so much has been going on. He's just like, this is what I do, and really appreciate like the way he does it. Vapor Blood says, yeah, Carrick, I was watching you play Dragon Age Inquisition back in the day and you stopped. What the hell? We need Crimple Raisin. Yeah, Crimple Raisin was one of my favorite characters I ever made. That was a goddamned blast. Ugliest character. What a monster. What a monster. I had such a good time streaming that. But, I stream a lot of times in the Discord and stuff. Sometimes you just have to switch it around. Sometimes something that doesn't work on YouTube works great somewhere else. Let's see. We talked about that. Attitude Era DB says, Carrick, do you like Post Malone? Good basketball player. Am I right? Just want to say thanks for that. Was listening to old podcasts and heard you joking about it. Did I tell you that one? Where I thought the singer Post Malone meant post basketball, where Malone played basketball. I couldn't understand because I wasn't following that music at the time. And people kept saying, yeah, Post Malone, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, did he quit? Like, did he stop playing again? Or like, I was so confused by what was going on. I was like, what's Post Malone? Like, is that like post Jordan era, Post Malone era? And like, I mean, it is a weird name. Come on. You got to side with me.
It is.
Post Malone is a very, that's such an odd, it's such an odd title for anybody. I legit thought that's what it was.
Yeah. It's crazy how big he's gotten.
Dude, Post Malone's talented as shit. Like, he's talented as shit. I honestly feel like whenever I hear his stuff, for the most part, I like everything he does. It really hasn't been an issue where I've ever been like, I don't like his thing. Let's see. Boom, boom, boom. Wu Chang. We talked about that. What else do we got?
Well, one thing we didn't touch on is Elden Ring Night Rain sold 5 million units, and Shadow of the Earth Tree, which was the DLC, sold over 10 million. So those are some really solid numbers there.
The DLC sold 10 million 10 million copies.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
I mean, I know crazy Elden Ring because
obviously
a lot of people were not really. You didn't hear about it as much. Yeah, damn. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was a big success, and 5 million for Night Rain, I think, is a really good result for that game. That was, kind of lower price and more of a a more of a humble offering, I guess, compared to Elden Ring.
Oh, they're saying Night Rain is getting duos at some point.
Yes, not yet, sadly, but yeah.
So it's still it's still 3 and what do you call it, right?
Yeah, it still forces you into the 3-player or single player.
I mean, I have no problem with that. 3 or I would like duos. I like the idea, but it's 3, 4, and that's it, right? 3 and 4.
No, it's only 3. It's only 3.
It's all okay. So they're going to go with solo and duos, or they're going with just how are they doing?
So right now they're single player and 3-player, and they're adding the duo option.
Okay.
Yeah, as someone who was playing with a friend, we did have a lot of ups and downs depending on what random we got.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely, I think it would be awesome to have duo and have it be balanced around that.
Right. I think one person might be cool too. Maybe.
Yeah, single player is cool. Yeah, it is. It is nice. It's just
hard as balls.
There is something really satisfying. It is a bit hard, yeah. But it's there's something about the duo that feels much easier to coordinate than 3 people, even if you're among friends. There's always, you're playing with Lemon Streak and he got distracted by we have this inside joke. Silver and I play with Lemon sometimes, and he will just get distracted with something. So he's now in Narnia because he got distracted by some random thing.
In the game, you mean? In the game?
In the game, yeah.
I see.
And so, now the plan is kind of, it's gone to crap. But if you play just with one person, it's really nice to keep the plan tight. It's like, yes, we're doing this, you're just reacting to the other person, what the other person is doing, compared to what 2 other people are doing is easier.
It's way more numbers than I thought it was going to be. I don't know why I never expected that to do that well. Lewis, thank you very much, Lewis, for the super chat. He says, famous networker, YouTuber Skill Up created a website that's paywall gated. Didn't make some. Okay, Lewis, dude, if you're going to email me, you need to make this make sense. YouTuber created a website that's paywall gated for most of the content. Oh, okay. And then it looks like it's not for others. Didn't make some number that they had originally hoped. Does that signal something like a failure of transition between YouTubers and video, or video and YouTuber, or YouTubers and video and websites, or the other way around? How would you say to do it right? Lewis, first of all, damn. Damn. I felt that was compressed. I don't know what that is, but I don't think anybody has any. We've seen people switch from YouTube. There's a ton of YouTubers with websites now. Angry Joe did it 10 years ago or whatever. So that's pretty normal. I would say no. I don't know what today's market demands from websites, because you have Substack, which is you can get some newsletters on Substack, then some are subscription based. Website subscription based is certainly harder to pull off. You really have to make sure you're offering, whether it be somebody, like people or podcasts, but that's really no different than Patreon. So that should be able to work. I don't really know of a way to do it better or worse than anybody else. I think you just do it. And I will say this, I've seen people do these where I can't understand at all how somebody got a success. I'll see the video, or I'll see a website, or I'll see something explode, and I'll be like, what? I don't understand this. And then I'll see others do a ton of work and it doesn't go well. And I, at the same time, can look at it and go, I don't understand that either. It feels like it's just time. I think right now is really tough to do even a website or a YouTube that has no charge for anything. Like, if everything's absolutely free and you don't have ads, it's hard. I can see it.
Yeah.
I can see it just in what I'm doing. That kind of stuff is difficult. and then adding any kind of cost on it. I don't think he has a patron. Probably not going to do both. That would be a little weird. But if does he have a patron? I can't remember. But if you have a patron, you can build stuff off of your patron to do other things. If you have a website, you can build off your website to do other things. You have a YouTube. At some point, though, you do start to notice what we've noticed, where you get a person over on Telegram who's giving you money one way, a person over here who's giving you money the other way, and now you have all this shit to where you're like, oh man, I gotta like figure out how to get all this money in one place, gotta pay for these things. That's a little rough. I think it's always nice if you have one source, but currently gamers don't do that. I mean, many people I know have a Twitch account, YouTube, Kick, Rumble. I don't know the names of other ones, but yeah, so I would say do what you do. Like, I don't think overall there's a wrong or right way. There's a response to it. I've done stuff and had it fail utterly, and done stuff I still can't figure out why it's successful. So do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah,
like, is there anything?
I think, well, what I would say the missing piece there is that probably every time someone succeeds at doing something like that, where they create a website, is they have the income coming from elsewhere, and that's funding the project. I don't think someone is like starting from scratch and saying, I'm going to build this ad-free website that's going to be amazing, where we're going to have professional writers on there, we're going to have staff. That just doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
So I think the way, exactly. So I think the way it works is if you have, let's say, a big YouTube channel or kind of like a personality following or a Patreon, like you said, you can then use that base to say, listen, I want to build something cool. This is my vision. This is my idea. And maybe it is around not having ads, which I think is a good idea, right? Right now, you're being assaulted by ads everywhere you go. It's like, accept this, accept that, boom, ads. I think that is a good idea. But if you're not serving ads, then you do need some way to make your money back if you're going to be paying for, writers and everything like that. So then are you asking for people to become supporters? Is it just Patreon that's funding that? It has to be coming from somewhere at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult.
And it has to align with your
with
content.
whatever your plan is. Yeah, it's difficult because I haven't talked to Angry Joe about this at all, or Joe. I don't know. I still call him Angry Joe. I haven't talked to Joe about this, like what success he's seen doing both, or if he even does both, because I watch his videos. But I think he puts the movie stuff up. I could be wrong on that. I think overall, like, the big thing that becomes an issue is subscription fatigue. So the reason why I was really happy that YouTube does the Discord is because YouTube takes care of all of it and they slide into the Discord. So you hopefully don't get somebody who's got both, right? That would be weird, but it happens all the time. If you have a separate thing and you're like, here's my sub, here's this. Most of those don't work. Like, that's sort of the de facto. It's like, or they do work at first and they peter off, because one of the things even I noticed, unless you're having a problem, or unless you are alerting people to a situation of newness or a problem and a new problem, you won't go above your initial numbers of that initial PR burst, which is what we see with early access games. So if you like start a channel and don't tell people, the chance of you exploding is quite low unless you're offering something very unique in that, because you are going to cannibalize from this other group at some point. So you'll get and that's the problem with, like, let's say I have a website, I do update it, but I really don't even talk about it, because not only have I not worked on it a ton, but it cannibalizes a view. And we have that in our own Discord, where somebody will say, here's a summary of a video Jeremy did. And I'm like, I mean,
well, I wanted to talk to you about that, because you did some,
but it is life, What were we going to say?
Because you did some awesome, like, summary cards for, well, I think like your latest review, at least, that you shared just with us in Discord at one point.
Yeah.
I thought that was awesome, because it kind of mapped everything you talked about in a visual way with charts and everything.
Yeah.
I thought that was awesome. But then it got me thinking, is that gonna, in a way, replace the content for some people? Like some people might just consume that and not
fine.
your video?
It is fine, because I even thought of that same thing. I'm offering you guys something in the Discord that no one else gets ever.
True.
Right.
Yeah.
But they get the score and everything. What I do in there is I break something down that is patently impossible to do in a video. So what I did when I got started doing what you're seeing in the Discord with the bars and the graphs and the time, that's because if you splash it up in a video too long, people are going to click off. But if you have people who are already wanting to be in the Discord, or your patron or your Substack or whatever, and you're delivering it there, I'm just delivering more to the people who are already there. Hopefully they'll tell somebody, and you're done. Now, if you started something
already further down the
if you started something new,
chain,
you throw whatever. But it's just difficult no matter what. There is no right way. That's what I was saying, is I don't think there's a right way to do any of this. There's certain things that don't work as well. Double subscriptions do not work as well. Like, that's patently known, especially if you go up in one place. And I've seen it. Everybody's seen it. Ko's seen it on YouTube. And like, it just is really hard. Google AI summaries are destroying websites by the day. That's the other big problem you have. So having to do a subscription in one place to pay for that, or even YouTube subscriptions that pay for the lack of ads, that's great. It's great. But at some point, it's very hard to say, please subscribe to me, when that person might be subscribed to 5 other websites, but they also have an anathema to ads. So here's what's going to happen. Not only are they not premium for you, they stop watching if you run ads. And that's something that there's studies, I mean, you can quite literally track that, where somebody will be like, Carrick is running ads if I don't do premium, right? And I'm not going to do premium for one more fucking person. And Carrick's not he's not launching something new, so I'm not going to move to him again. And I've already got a sub somewhere else, so I'm not going to do that. So you end up cannibalizing that, and then you also end up double pushing, which means they feel pushed away by a system that's in place, and then they also feel pushed away by your offering. It's very difficult stuff. I mean, it's like right now, it's just weird, like it's hard to do anything. You just do it and hope, and you just, hope.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all you have, is like, do it and hope, and try to figure out. But I have seen a lot of these where we try something different, and you see so many people try something different. And then after a bit of time, you realize whether it doesn't make numbers or it doesn't continue to make numbers. And like, that's why a lot of people stay small. I've stayed super small because almost everybody I know has multiple editors or multiple whatever. And it's like, that's great, but I would never want somebody working for me and suddenly I built something and it starts to do poorly because YouTube changes something. Now I'm on the hook for, like, let's say I hired you. I said, Johnny, quit your software development job. You're going to help me with the behind the scenes shit.
Boom,
that could work. But what if YouTube changed something? Then I'm on the hook for you too. And it's like, you know what? I'll take less and not be on the hook for you than, the idea of expanding out. Yeah, difficult times. But anyway, does that signal anything? I don't think so. I think it signals just one more way to attempt to, like, make some money. Like, there's nothing, I mean, people want to make money. There's nothing wrong with that. So make some cash, try to figure it out. I mean, I'll be stripping soon. So, well, just from the neck
I do
up.
think, I do think there is a want for, like, magazines to come back. And I don't mean necessarily
agree.
Like physical, although that, I think maybe even that too. But that thing of, like, being hooked and every week waiting for the new issue of whatever magazine you like dropping with data and, like, juicy bits of new things, that just doesn't exist anymore because you're getting everything via, tweets and, like, little snippets and everything.
I have a Megster subscription, Johnny, which is digital versions of all the physical magazines, and I read them all the time. Oh, yeah.
Dude.
Yeah. It's an app. I got solar on it. I have like 4 or 5 guys in the Discord where I'm like, dude, this is one of the coolest websites. It's an app / website, but I use the app. It's called Megster. It's free, or it's legal. I checked because I couldn't figure out. I don't know how they do the profit sharing, but it's like 8,000 magazines, including the biggest game magazines on there. And I think it's $5 a month. And I was like, well, I'll check it out. Is it the
Yeah.
entire magazine?
Yeah.
And I started using it. I'm like, I love magazine formats. I've always loved the, like big black bold text on
Oh,
white
yeah,
and then
dude.
a picture.
Right.
And, like, almost like a comic book, but with, but video
Totally.
game inspired stuff. Dude, I love it.
Yeah.
And they dive into shit that just doesn't work on a web. If you go to the web and start reading a long interview, let's be honest, I love long interviews and I love tech. Even I will get to the second page and be like, fuck that, man. Like, let's say I summarize this.
I'm not going to the second page.
No, but I'll read a fucking book that's 400 pages long, and you and I have read the Interstellar Science. So it's like, it's not too much of a change to say maybe there is a magazine subscription kind of thing.
Dude, yeah.
That can be done.
I mean, when you showed that thing, it got me the graphic, about your review and like the summary. That got me thinking. That could be an awesome idea for a magazine if you had a combination of those things where maybe you reviewed a couple games and you have that breakdown alongside maybe some, complimentary thoughts to your review and stuff. And then in the midst, you had like, news of the week type thing with maybe like a dev you talk to,
that
some
is exactly
flavoring
what is
stuff.
happening, by the way. Like, that is quite literally. Yeah, what he's talking about is something we're offering in the Discord now. Dude, the ability to display that stuff easily now is such a bonus. Because when I posted those in our Discord, I didn't know how they'd go over. I thought a lot of people would be like, oh, it's a JPEG. Because I was just doing a JPEG at the time, not an embedding that I'm working on now. But it was just JPEG. And I mean, Takedown DM'd me and he's like, dude, not to be rude, but he's like, I don't have the best attention span. So there are
this shit
times
is like
where
gold.
This
It's
shit
like
is,
condensed.
he's like, this told me like how long you played, what weapon you used the most. Like, what the fuck is going on? Like, why have you not thought of that? And I'm like, because I'm not smart. I don't know when that came into my head, but it definitely is something that we're building on. I don't think it'll ever go out of YouTube members or patrons, though, because I believe that the number of people who want it are niched already. They're already filtered in via that.
Yeah.
I mean, and people who watch the same thing, why I don't talk about the podcast all the time on the YouTube videos is because my personal belief is they'll find it at some point, and that organic finding is always better than getting a huge bump and a drop, because I have seen that so many times where you will do something, you get a massive bump and then a drop. And if it's money and you start living on that and then it goes down, you are screwed. So it's like, I would much rather be like, we'll organically build this again and see what happens here. And then it also gives you a little time to, if you want like 6 months worth of content, I could do 6 months worth of reviews and randomly be like, here's this stuff for the people in the Discord, I think Discord's allowing of and changing of their bot rules has helped too, because even though I'm very scared of how that could be misused, because I feel like it could be very misused in a Discord, and that you probably shouldn't trust every Discord you jump into. I firmly am a little nervous about that for what I'm doing when I'm delivering like the review synopsis for people in Discord. I'm able to do it like that, give people stuff. It also doesn't take a ton of time. I don't have a ton of time to do it. So that's the other thing. How do you display it if you don't have a ton of time? Like, dude, how many people, I mean, look at Angry Joe, man. I still watch Joe's stuff. He doesn't review as much. Look at almost every reviewer. This is the honest truth, including myself, and I'm just reviewing. Look at how many people used to review, right? Or how many things people used to review versus review now. And I would tell you, I think there is absolutely not an example of somebody who used to review a bunch who reviews a bunch or more now. It is dramatically been more difficult to review games as we've gotten forward. Some don't work well. Some people don't want to cover smaller games. They only want certain things. Games, embargoes, timeframes. Games are more difficult. They're lengthy. It used to be pretty easy for me to review 3 games in a week. And now just identifying what game to review can take a week. That's not a lie, because you have to go track the game, verify it's not a scam, verify that there hasn't been some weird issue in their past.
Is it going to be available?
Is it going to be available?
Time,
where is it going to be?
everything.
It's really changed. You see people who used to review like a couple games a month, reviewing like 2 or 3 and augmenting it with podcasts or whatever, because that's all they can do. It's definitely changed. It's definitely got more difficult, I think. unless you have a team. What else do we got? We got anything? I think we're out of questions on here. Oh, listen to this. GameSpot still lists Beyond Good and Evil 2 under to be announced or to be released in 2025. Does anyone believe that release window?
Can you imagine if it drops? Like, hey,
dude.
Nah, we haven't seen anything. It would make no sense.
I would absolutely lose my shit if that game came out. Like without a big alert, like somehow a company was able to make a game that big and a game that already had eyes on it, right?
Just
meaning people were looking under the radar
under the
and
blankets.
It was good. Would that not be that? See, that would return me to the times when I first started YouTube, where it was a little bit more like that because you didn't know about games because maybe you didn't get contacted about them. So there was a little bit more of a surprise when you did or whatever. And there was that, and of course things change, but there was that magic of being like, oh man, there's something different here. This is like such a big deal. This is such a surprise. And Beyond Good and Evil 1, I loved. I don't even know what I would do. I would definitely freak out if I just, it's like saying, what if Santa turned out to be real though? Like, it's not good.
Yeah.
Yeah, sucks. What else we got?
Let's see. Did you see the Battlefield 6 reveal trailer?
I did.
They dropped.
Yeah. I'm super excited for Battlefield 6. I mean, it might suck, but the destruction looks on point. That's going to be the big thing that I want to see. I think graphics look awesome. They've looked great in past games though. So,
Yeah, they also have, I forgot what the actor's name is, but they have like a pretty famous guy in there. Some kind of like Irish vibe actor.
Okay.
Yeah. I completely forgot his name, but he's in there. And the destruction looks awesome, man. It's hard to tell what's going to be in like gameplay versus just a cutscene, but it's all in engine, right? So it's still pretty impressive.
So here's the thing, man. Dude, I don't know about you, but like I can get negative about whatever. But it's been so long since the last one that I'm like looking at this one as a new game. They're making it. I'm hoping that they don't have online issues day one, but we know most games have online issues day one. So I'm sort of petering back on the idea that, hey, it'll work instantly day one. I think it's one of the biggest, when we talk about getting away with shit, I think one of the biggest getting away with that publishers and devs get away with right now is that fucking day one. Like you pay. I paid for your game. It needs to work. You pay for the service. I don't care. I don't need to hear how much fucking AWS costs. That's not up to me. Do you know how much the game cost? $60. And guess who has my $60, jackass? You do. And it doesn't fucking work. Helldivers 2 had this issue. It's like, I don't care how much people like Helldivers. It's not fucking working, right? Like I traded money. I'm not a charity. I paid you. You pay me with the game that works. So that being said, I'm still really excited for it. I do know it'll have issues, and I do know I live in that, or that is a magical world I live in that'll never happen, or until they figure instancing out in a perfect world, it'll never happen. I'm really excited for it, man. The destruction, dude, I love that. They showed the video of like buildings collapsing and stuff. I'm like, that's exactly what I feel I want in my next shooter. It's hitting a perfect. It's hitting a time when I enjoyed Call of Duty's multiplayer, this last one, but it's clean and very static. All of Call of Duty is very static and fun static to me, but Battlefield looks like chaos. It looks like the god of chaos.
Get on a helicopter,
dude. Everything's
like crash
built
into
of
a building.
Nabisco crackers. It just breaks if somebody fucking farts on it. To me, that's magic.
Yeah,
because that chaos of blowing a wall out and getting through it, or collapsing. That's why the finals had some amazing moments, man. Some of the destruction in the finals, you were like, "Ooh, that's good." But this looks
like that car game
gooder.
you reviewed. The isometric one?
Yeah. Deliver at no cost, or deliver at all. Deliver at no cost would be a totally different game. Deliver at all costs. Yeah. The destruction in that was primo, man. Yeah, I can't wait. Eternal says, sell the IP to somebody who actually cares. If they have no plans to release anything besides AC Division and Far Cry, I mean, I sincerely don't see even a single company being interested. They neglected Beyond Good and Evil 2. See, I would patently disagree. Neglecting would be neglecting. They're literally still working on it and trying to get it. I mean, like, I don't know. I think in the end, everybody's disappointed when a game doesn't come out that's been rumored to come out. And like, we can argue over the vernacular, but ultimately, I guess we just all wanted it. I wanted Beyond Good and Evil 2. A big deal. Battlefield looks like an actual war zone. That's a good point. Tony Curran, I believe, is the Irish actor on BF trailer.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I'm nodding because I'm pretending I know who the hell that is. Who is that? Have they been in anything we've seen? Sorry.
Yeah,
I was totally nodding, going, no clue.
100% he has. But it's one of those guys where, like,
give me the deets, chat.
Recognize him instantly.
Right.
Yeah, but I can't, like, put my finger on exactly what roles.
Kevin states, video essays are the new shtick or retrospectives. So, oh my God, he does say something. I do want to point this out. Dude, this is a big deal. Anybody who wants to start a channel, this is serious, man. First of all, start the fucking channel. Start your shit. But Kevin states, video essays are the new shtick or retrospectives now that watch time is a new metric. Watch time used to be 8 minutes to get ads in the middle, meaning one at the starting, you could do one in the middle, one at the end. Everybody was doing 8 minutes and 1 second. In fact, people tease me because I did 7 minutes and 59 seconds and I didn't get the second ad. And they're like, I can't believe it. I'm like, dude, it's like, I have no clue how much that cost-wise, but what am I going to do? Breathe in the mic for an extra two? Well, I probably could have. But anyway, then it went to like 15. Now it's up to like, I think it's like at every 10 minutes, your ad revenue goes up. But I've seen people doing reviews that are like 35 minutes long or 30 minutes long. I'm like, listen, I do not care. I do not. Come on, guys. Like, come on. That's so noticeable when everybody's getting longer. But if you're new, be aware of that. I think it's really important to be aware that if you do a short video, I still do them. Admittedly, I just had somebody be like, why'd you do like a 12-minute video or whatever? You're not going to get paid for it. I'm like, I don't even know how much a video makes until 3 months down the line. I forget. So I'm just going to do it and worry about that shit later. But if you're new, man, go out there, make your shit, throw it up there, start doing videos, retrospectives, totally fine. Video essays, absolutely awesome. But would be even better, man. I wish Solar would do this because he's one of the few that I think has the energy to do this. I wish. He's got a website, great reviews, and he's trying to get into YouTube. But I'm like, dude, could you please just do these videos as like, I've never played the last 7 of blank. Like, but I'm playing this now because he didn't have any of the systems. He's one of the people I've talked to in the past. He had like one console, a gen. He didn't get to play all the others. He just got a PC for the first time ever to really truly play games a month ago. That's the kind of person that I think is not being fulfilled on YouTube, or at least not in a energetic, positive way. It's more of the critique. And instead it's like, dude, you don't need to critique it. Like, why would you be like, well, it's not as good as Final Fantasy V? It's like, no shit, man. Like, what? Like, who gives a cover it right now? What do you like right now as a brand new person without all of the crust that wraps around you? Like, I would love to see some more websites do that. And they don't make money for a while, which is why people don't do it. But it's like, you could, though. You could. Splattercat Gaming is becoming a thing now. You're starting to hear more about that guy. And the reason why is it took 2 solid years for this to start working. But he just said, screw it. I'm going to continue doing small games. And I'm going to continue to do indie games. And I don't know. He might take sponsorships. I don't know. But I can tell you it took a long time. Like, but I'm as in to become big, but I'm starting to see his channel popping up more and more where I'll be looking for a game and he has this evergreen content behind him. And he's not critiquey like, well, the reason why I don't like this is because you're mean to your mom and my mom's. It's like, I don't give a shit, man. Like, who fucking cares? Is the game good? And Splattercat does a really good job of being like, here are the mechanics. Here's why I like it as a person. Here's what I enjoy. Here's what they're doing well. We're done. And I would love to see more on YouTube, see success that way. God damn, that'd be cool. If anybody knows in the chat, anybody who does that kind of stuff, actually give me a link or a name. Somebody smaller who like just covers like random shit and who doesn't have the crappy thumbnails that looks like everybody's having oral sex all the time.
Yeah.
Mojo says Splattercat's the king again. I will say this, man. He's also the king of space games, because if I'm looking for a space game or there's an early access game that involves space and shooting or whatever, if you don't see a Splattercat video on there, my assumption is he was fighting off armed intruders at his house, because it's there. I'm not lying. It's really respect, like all due respect, or not all due respect, but all the respect. Because like I'll go back and look at something old and be like, I don't think anybody big's covered it, and his video will be there. And I'll be like, God damn it! Once again, he's always there. What else do we got?
Did you watch that conversation that Lex Friedman did with Demis Hassabis this week?
Demi?
Yeah, I might be butchering the pronunciation. Demis Hassabis. He's one of the people that worked in projects like AlphaGo, and he was
dude,
in developing
I did see
Transformers and stuff.
Okay, yeah, I didn't even. I don't even think I picked up on the name. Yes, I did. Yeah.
No, me neither. I had to look it up again. But yeah, he's a really cool dude.
Very cool. Yep.
Like, the way he was explaining a lot of these things and how he was in the makings of a lot of the stuff that we're now experiencing with chatbots and everything. And he was talking about 2030 for his expectation of having something really transformative, close
what?
to general intelligence, like 2030.
Oh, I thought I don't know why. I thought you said 2084, and I was like,
okay, no,
2030.
much closer.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, because as my midlife crisis has indicated, time has passed and it's now 2025 already. So,
dude, so you haven't had this moment because you are, how old are you?
I'm going to be 37.
So listen to this. You have had
next week.
You have had it. You may not have thought about this, but this is what defined me time-wise. I was out of school for longer than I was in school. That was the first huge one. When I realized, because school's such a formative part of your life. And I remember the one day I was riding home and I realized I had been out of school for approximately 2 days longer than I had been in school for my 12 years. And I was like, oh, fuck. Because it had been such a, I mean, you still think about it. So I remember going like, oh, damn. Then you realize you've been married longer than you're in school. So now, admittedly, I had a good time in school. I think a lot of people didn't, so they won't track it. But I think 12 years is easy for me to track. I remember my first grade, second grade. I remember all my teachers. I remember that time frame. So it's a good time frame to track. But when you start looking at those, or the idea that I have now worked at YouTube longer than I was working at my last job is sort of and in another year, 2 years, I'll be working longer than I did at Hewlett Packard. So it's like, oh my God. That's so crazy.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Yeah, it is. But, I mean, dude, when you were talking about midlife crisis, I haven't had one. I don't know what they feel like, but man, are they real as shit, because I've seen people have them and destroy their lives out of the blue. We do have a very good friend who maybe 3 months ago sort of fell apart. And I started talking to his wife, and I was like, what's going on? And she was like, just one day, he just started talking about like he didn't feel like he had done what he needed to do. And it just descended. And like a plague. Yeah. I'm not lying, man. It's like, that's a real thing for some people. And I genuinely feel he's done some dumb stuff, not horrible, but some dumb stuff since, and is doing it right now. But I'm telling you right now, when she was telling me about it, it descended out of the fucking blue. She thinks, this is crazy. She thinks it was started via him going back, watching old school video of him in school, and then watching like movies about kids in school, like your Varsity Blues or something, or Friday Night Lights or something. And that it just reminded him of his age, and then it ballooned from there. And it just, dude, it was like, it's weird. It's like one of the weirdest things to live beside and like trying to figure out where he's going, because it's not my place to be like, well, I mean, we've talked about some stuff where he's like, should I do this? I'm like, whoa, no, what are you doing? You know, like, why are you doing this? But at the same time, I don't know what he's thinking inside. And if he's like, I'm of this particular age, or she, by the way, because women can, midlife crisis does not give a fuck about gender. Like, I've seen many people have it, but it was so weird to have him just be like, yeah, I want to do this, and go, what? I've never heard this person ever mention this in my life, and then be all, oh, so you've wanted to for a ton of time? They're like, no, just in the last couple of months. Like, I was joking with him because he's fought before, and I was like, do you have CTE, man? Like, what the fuck is going on? Like, where is this coming from? Because it's almost like a slightly different person, because the internal values, like, they've flipped, man. They've flipped. Anti-kids, by the way. Somebody's saying kids, and I will say this is anti-kids. This is the opposite. This is the opposite. It's weird. Worked at YouTube. Somebody sees me for saying worked at YouTube. Sorry, I meant working at YouTube. I mean, it literally says YouTube on my on the payments that I get. So technically work at YouTube. I mean, you still have to claim it. I wish you didn't. I wish you could just be like, man, I'm independent. I make no money, but taxes keep coming out. Ooh, I got to pay taxes too. What else have we got?
I think that's about it. I was thinking about like one thing they were talking about in terms of chat bots.
Mm-hmm.
Do you, because we're used to now being able to have a chat, you know, about anything with a chat bot.
Yeah.
Whatever you use. What's the next step, do you think? Because right now you can have some pretty damn good conversations with ChatGPT or whatever you use. What are we missing that you think, like in the next maybe couple years, we would get?
First of all, absolutely 100% for sure. One of the biggest problems currently with any of this stuff is memory. I've had to install memory on the side of the GPTs I use for tracking my stuff now, because I take all the reviews and recordings and I track them in a database. And if you try to search a PDF, you can't. You can't jump into a PDF search very easily. You have to use OCR and all this other stuff. So using those and being able to jump in there is great, but ChatGPT will lose its shit, because let's say 100,000 tokens, that's not even 100 pages in a PDF, or at least not a good 100 pages. So memory rags is what they're called. Those are really good. Knowledge graphs are really good, and they're starting to come about quite quickly. And you can install an MCP and a knowledge graph in like 15 minutes, which is what I have for mine. $5 super chat from SBZ. Thank you for talking about the Steam itch situation. Wish there's something we can do more as gooners, or he means consumers. Either way, to make the corpos leave us alone. Yeah, I would agree, man. It's a shitter, SBZ. Like, that one frustrates me. I don't want to jump back into it because I'll get mad. But the Steam itch.io thing hopefully gets hopefully turns the way Facebook did, where OnlyFans, where it starts to go away. Anyway, I would say that's the biggest thing, and that's widely known. It's considered the biggest problem currently right now is gathering together any of your documentation and putting it in one place. It's one of in fact, the guy talked about it a little bit when he was doing that podcast. Like, that's considered one of the largest weaknesses. I will say this. I don't think people realize this, but I would say within a year or two, especially because I'm already diving in and looking at stuff, OSs that are considered fluid without an app, that is for sure going to happen. And it is already, I showed you the real-time stuff I can do when I'm talking. When you and I were talking about quantums, hit a button while you're talking, hit the other button, it builds the graphs, and it shows you something in 15, 20 seconds. Fluid OSs that basically are consistently coding when you're doing stuff, meaning unlike Google Lens, where you take a picture of the brick, where am I? Tells you where you are, tells you what brick. Take a picture of your dog, it tells you. Those will be gone. There won't even be an overarching thing other than a clickable, let's say, GPT of some kind. And it will do it all, anything you need. And it won't be written in the way that we think, where it's going to be written to your device and it will always be there. It will go in real time and it will consistently adjust and change as you need to do stuff. The reason why I know that is because currently we already have Fluid. I mean, I technically would call it Fluid, but I already have a program that takes other bits of program, removes the old program, puts the other one in whenever I need it, and can either store it, never use it again, but as things change, you can quite literally inject shit in real time. And that's stuff we've seen before. It's just not been in real time where you don't have to watch over it. And that's the same stuff that I would say Altman's talked about and others have talked about, is that a Fluid OS, I know a Chinese company is already looking at a phone Fluid OS where it doesn't have all the apps on the front. It's sort of, you sort of tell it, or there's the interface is a weird deal, but you have to figure out a way to tell it what you want, and it will no longer do the thing where it opens the separate
It's not broken
app.
down in apps with specific functions. Yeah. It's more like, I'll do it for you. You tell me what it is you need. I'll, find what functionality.
Well, and I mean, look at it this way. How long have we had PDFs be separate from text? It's all the time. PDF is a shit format. It's one of the worst formats known to man. There's a reason why not only macros and malware can infect it, it's just terrible for editing, takes all the stuff. But we also see a lot of these programs that do 10 things. They do window, they'll do scheduling, they do your Word documentation, they do, presentations. All I'm saying is in the future, a lot of that stuff, the way we see those things, there'll be dynamic connections to where you won't have to sort of, I want to open this app and do this. And we're already seeing it. And I know most of the developers I talk to about AI, even the people who are working on side projects like an MCP or something, when you ask them, that is what they're all, once the speed catches up, it's not really CPU speed, it's more GPU memory. By the way, do you know where the biggest problem is right now? GPU memory sizes are not growing. That's the biggest problem right now with GPTs, is that the memory size is such a big deal that the only real way to get them to run lickety split is to go with a service. And if you want to run them at home, I mean, dude, I have what do I have on my 4090? What is that? 20? Is those 21 VRAM?
24.
24, sorry. You can overlay into RAM, but it's about 100 times slower. So the moment your language goes into RAM and on the VR, you notice, tokens go and they drop.
Yeah.
So it sort of sucks that video cards are going the opposite way with NVIDIA looking at what AI and compression can we do to not increase the VRAM. And AI companies are like, what do we need to do it? Look at Gemma 3B. Gemma 3N is a fantastic model. And that is cut into layers. So it's got 7 layers. And if you install it on your fucking Fire Stick, it runs 1 layer. So fairly terrible AI. You run it on something slightly powerful, it loads 2 layers. So now not only is it twice as good, it uses both at the same time. And you go up from there. And so if you take that and you put a ton of power into it to not only use all the layers, but also the context, you start to get some wicked good results with that thing. And I think that's also the future, where if you need something easy, it just loads dynamically the layers, and it does this instead of saying, I need Mixtral, which is massive. Why would you need that if you're trying to figure out where to go somewhere? But instead, you're going to get these models that do this. So yeah, I could see that happening.
What do you think it is about generating ideas that? Why is there a limitation when you compare their ability to generate images or video, but they don't have the ability to, say, come up with new ideas or new?
So I would disagree. I would disagree and say it's the opposite. I am very disappointed with the image generation and the video generation, only because most images you can look at and go, unless you tell it to look rough, there's something gossamer and fishy about it. And video, since it's Transformers right now, they don't know where the last frame was. So you get the person who walks and you see a shadow move and it becomes
they're converting as it happens.
Right. And that kind of stuff, you're like, But if you load 5 or 6 of your own D&D PDFs in, I mean, I'll tell you, I've ran that game for 30 years, a D&D game. I loaded some PDFs in just to see what it would come up with. And the ideas it came up with, because of the way it can grab shit, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing for that. Maybe not so much for like a report, but for that kind of stuff. So they're all over the place. And Transformer will for sure not be the way the future goes with AI. Like Transformer's good for now, but Transformer will not be the future. I mean, there's already like 9 different large language model styles that are not Transformer. And what you'll see is a mix. You'll see a Transformer, you'll see different mixes where they're all sort of one thing. But Transformer alone has all kinds of issues. It's just that it fools people really well for what we socially on the internet want. Like, which is like, hey man, what'd you call your GPT? Alex. So it's like, hey Alex, how you doing? Yeah. Alex is good at telling you how it's doing and making you go, damn, that's... But here's the thing. Is that an indication of how good the AI is or how bad your communication with your friends is? That is a question. Next time you talk to a friend, I'm telling you, this will shock you. Next time you talk to a friend, think about it and go, is it that the AI is pretty impressive generally, or is it that my friends are spectacularly unimpressive in communication in text and writing? And I guarantee you, you will go, oh shit, and you'll flip them around. You'll be like, oh damn, it's, you know, it's sort of, like I sort of see the dichotomy there. I still love using it for different stuff, for like D&D stuff we're doing, tracking stuff. But the other things, not so much. It is spectacular. There's a new Quinn, 256 billion token. You can't get that on any GPU. That's like NVIDIA server racks. However, I was told by somebody who's used it for coding in the beta that it is real-time coding with just no mistakes. They're like that. And it just got released, so I haven't been able to, I don't have a system that will ever be able to run that, I don't think. But from what I'm hearing, that is like the next level of coding, which is going to change what people at home can do on their own. For example, I wrote a program for OBS that does that stuff in OBS. I wrote that with the assistants, and it tells you what's wrong. It'll make an error, and you fix the error, which teaches you programming, which is awesome. But it wasn't in real time. The idea for me to say, listen to what I'm saying. When I'm done saying it, I'm going to hit a button. You drop a graph, blah, blah, blah. And it just wrote that. That would be phenomenal. Yeah, that's not the way it works.
Just vibe your code into...
I mean, yeah, because you hear vibe coding. And do you think what I think? When I think of vibe coding, I think of the YouTubes I listen to with the anime character and the techno and the character going... This is when somebody says vibe coding, this is what I see. And they're just sitting there making shit, and it's instant. No. Dude, the moment you say, like, you go into Python, you're like fucking installing some dependencies, and Python's like, I don't know what the fuck you're trying to do, because it's Windows and Python, which already, you know, you'll have all these dependencies going on. That nobody tells you about that when they're talking about vibe coding.
And you're like, oh, make it with this and that, make it so it looks this way, blah, blah, blah.
Or try to make a graph that doesn't involve fucking emojis. I do not. This is why you can tell GPTs were trained and why you don't want them doing games right now. This is why I'm against them jumping in and doing anything generative in games. They're trained on emojis. That's why you get them all the time, and that's why they cannot flatly put a graph together with anything that is not either an emoji or an amazing looking picture. There is no middle ground. Go check. If you say, like, I want a program that does a PowerPoint, and I want it to have this and this, and I want, you know, you can do some emojis, but I want it to look really good. It will always hedge in this milquetoast, fucked up middle ground, because it's training, and training that dominates the models is emojis from chats and web pages and Twitter, where, you know, people are doing the eggplant. And so when you say I want it to be amazing, it's trained to know amazing means art from ArtStation. When you say you want it middle ground, think about this. How many people upload their charts that they did at work, which is middle ground art, online? Almost nobody. When was the last time you were like, hey, I did a presentation today. It looked pretty good. I got some art here and there. I'm going to upload it to the fucking internet. No, because it's all private. It's not uploaded. It's on their private servers. So its training goes like this. You have emojis, super high training, art station, video games, super high training, middle ground, dog shit. It's so bad, man. I'm not lying. I was talking to somebody about doing SVGs, some vector art with AI, and I was looking at it going, that is some baby level shit. Like that is like a fucking 3-year-old with I mean, it's bad. So you have to really work to make a good thing look bad. And I have yet to be able to make an emoji look middle ground. It will not. And I'm not saying I know everything, but I have fucked around a lot with trying to do this. And it seems to be the weakness, is getting emoji style design to look middle ground. It'll usually go amazing. And then you have to tell it to look like shit. It's, imagine you had an artist working with you and they sent you something. How often would you tell them to fucking make it look worse?
Can you make it crappier?
It would never happen. It's an emoji in chat, and then otherwise you'd be like, well, I want this, whatever style it is, I need this to look like good, and that's what it's trained on. So it looks terrible. What about you? What are you excited for in games? Like, is there anything, when you're looking at games and you're looking at, so you like music, I like music. I think Suno has now become almost, especially with instrumental, is almost impossible to tell that it's AI. It's very close, and this is all I do.
Yeah.
And it's insanely close. What do you think for games? Like, is there a part of games you would be, are you worried about this? Are you worried about, let's say, composers being supplanted with an AI composer, or are you excited for it? Do you like the idea of, let's say, some kind of system where you can inject your own music in, and maybe the composer's music's still there, but you can adjust the theme because maybe their composer's music doesn't fit what you think the game is? Is there anything in games and AI or just what you see in the future for games that interests you?
Yeah, I'm excited to see how people are going to adapt around it, because as part of their jobs become suffused with, or I guess, obsolete, like some parts of it, not all of it, but, all of a sudden you no longer need to do certain things anymore. So that also frees you up to do other things, and just the sheer competitive nature of the industry will make it so people will constantly be looking at how to use these tools, right? So you're going to start seeing a big difference between the people who can make amazing use of a generative tool to create something beyond what, say, just ChatGPT can create.
Yeah.
But they can use that as like a platform, a springboard or something. That's what I'm excited about, is the human plus AI.
Yeah.
It's the ingenuity of like the prompter understanding really well how to use the tool to get what they need. Because right now the difference between someone who has no idea and someone who's really good at prompting is already massive in what you can get.
Insane.
Right?
Yeah. Yes.
Like you're using a different tool, kind of.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, dude, in a year, people who have been really working at this and have a really good understanding on how to get amazing results with things and how to multiply their creativity, that's going to just be a factor on their output that we can't even imagine, Yeah.
I mean, the big thing
that's maybe optimistic, but that's
I don't think
what
it's
excites me.
I mean, you could look at it as optimistic and also completely pessimistic, depending on. I view it as utilitarian. I know what people are going to do, regardless of the world saying yes or no. For example, I have noticed right away the ability for searches to completely replace Google search in the AI driven web browsers or ChatGPT, where it's unbelievable how little I can go to Google and get the links for what I need, and it'll put the video. I'm just sitting there going, whoa, this is, I was talking about the fluid thing. That's almost the fluid thing, because it's taking more than just the website, which is hurting the websites dramatically. I mean, they've been very clear.
Taking content
taking
from
huge
them
hits.
and
YouTube, you can hit a YouTube summarize video, not watch my video, go, Carrick believes this, he liked this, you're done, right? That is all going to happen regardless of anybody's morals and desire to not see it happen, which I don't want to see that happen but I have to prepare regardless. And that fluid, multiple pane kind of data is hard to actually get your brain around. That you can get data from another place at ease, which used to be web scraping, or used to be like that more parser difficult thing, hire somebody to research, blah, 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 which I still do because I actually do like the person doing it. But I have to verify they're not using AI for everything too, so their data's right. But the multiple parser kind of going through a window to get more data, that's changing everything. And I do see that I see that it's awesome, but I see it's also like it also sucks balls because like I can already tell it's happening. And I've had people tell me that they use it. They'll be like, oh, well, this will say if Carrick likes the game or not, and it'll give me a summary versus listening to the entire thing. I mean, so I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, in a way, you could say the charts and shit I'm doing in the Discord, you could say this. I never thought about this until now. But you could say that's one way for me to continue to make sure the Discord people feel they're getting some use if they had originally thought of leaving and just doing summaries. Because that is not summarized currently by YouTube summaries. So the stuff I'm showing there is like, okay, that's special, but how long will that be special? How long is that shit going to be special, man? Like,
give me a breakdown of every reviewer and, do that for the top, 10 reviewers.
Claude is a universe ahead of Gemini. Claude is a universe ahead of Gemini in one thing, and it is a massive jump, but its deep research sucks giant, thick, Sagan pee-pee hole. Man, it's bad, man. That thing is just balls, but it does rock in other ways. They're all different, right? That's the other thing.
Yeah, that's one thing you see is that each have very different strengths.
It's almost like if I hired you to write music of a certain type for a video or whatever, you might be generally good at putting some stuff together for some things, but you have a core that you're like,
sure,
this is my jam.
I'm not your guy for country.
I'm not your guy. I'm not your guy. Hire Post Malone, man. I'm not the guy. Yeah. But you could still put something together.
It could have a crack.
You could have a crack, yeah. But we would all know deep down inside this is just purely
that is what it feels like when you push some models to do something they're not good at. It's like, listen, man, cards on the table. I had a crack.
Dude, I had a crack is such a perfect way of talking about all this stuff. It's like we talk about with games. I always do believe that if somebody, unless you have a weird situation, most developers want to make a good game. They want to have their crack, right? And if somebody does a video you don't like, they still wanted to have their crack at it. And unless there's some egregious issue, that the honest truth is it just wasn't good enough to meet whatever your criteria is.
True.
And so we're accustomed to that. And that's why I'm always telling people you should be prepared that it's a human-like device in the fact that it does have a crack. And it would be very confident, just like a coworker who tells you this is their best. And you're like, if that's your
this
best,
is great,
you should keep
man.
it to yourself.
I nailed this.
Yeah. And I've done it. I've been the person who's like, I'm taking a crack at it. I'll take the boss will say, does anybody want to try this? And you raise your hand. You're like, I'll try it. And you just see everybody in the room look at you and go like, yeah, okay. And you're like, fuck, man. And then but you try. That might be your best. And your best is
you even maybe thought it was
horrible.
great because you were so close to it.
Yeah. That's why, dude. That's why I love like when you say I don't know if you do this, but I love going to Steam, the indie games, or even big games I haven't heard of, but whatever. Whenever you find that game that you feel like somebody's taken their crack, and I don't mean the drug. I'm saying like when you're like, whoa, whether it be a AAA game I wasn't aware of or AA, but I'm bringing up indies because there's so many. But you go and you look and you see that one game and you'd be like, dude, that looks like, I mean, it doesn't even have to be different. You look at it and you're like, I feel like that person's taken a good crack at this. And they've got some ideas where they don't have the templated Steam thing where it's like, this is a roguelike, early access, 4 characters with 6 playing. And you're like, oh, Jesus, But instead they're offering something different. And the thing is, AI can't create anything autonomously. Oh my God, I'm having a hard time. Has to draw from an algorithm and abide by whatever criteria the user inputs. Yes, just like people. Yeah. I think that's the other thing is It's just like people.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know
It's
why.
just like people.
Yeah, it is quite literally like people. That is, we run on algorithms. We run on
Pick any musician you love.
Yeah.
And you can find a video of him talking about the greatest inspirations, which you can closely track, you know, his or her
and
work.
What's even crazier is just like a musician might take different, you know, whether if they're doing an arpeggio or whatever, and they just put stuff together that sounds good. That is quite literally exactly. So it's like, then you have the argument of like, okay, so we're saying the artist isn't creating? Because that's what you would have to say. You quite literally cannot, if that's how it's working, it's like, may not be the best creation, but we've all had that person who can't play the violin.
Your cake and have it too.
Yeah, I think that's one of the problems is that like ultimately they're all just different tools and we have to learn how to use them. And it's the same way with games, dude. You have somebody who's like, this game has ray tracing, and you look at it and you're like, but it looks like dog shit. And it's like, yeah, they didn't do a great job with their implementation of ray tracing or the other items that interact with ray tracing. There you go. That's like, it's like at some point the rest of it is moralizing, and which admittedly I do think we need some rules. We needed rules for some of this stuff 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? It's like Steam.
True.
Steam with their shit. I'm telling you, dude, you hear people going like, you know what we'll do? We'll just shut down AI for a while. I'm like, who? The world? The world ain't shutting down AI. What are you talking about? It's at my house. You know, we're going to come for your guns. No, you're not. You know what I mean? Like it's out. It's out. The moralizing should have been done 8 years ago, where people are looking at stuff going, we need to have some plans for controls and
true
data.
We're way behind the curve in terms of that.
Yeah. We're gone. Do you know where else we're gone that has not made the big impact I thought it would? 3D printing. So 3D printing, I got to see the very first one at the company. There was the premier makers of the original, like I guess you would say the original form factor for 3D printing. Massive device, took days to get it in there. It's not the small devices. This is like, I think I told you, it took like 4 hours to print a little plastic piece. But dude, I could never, it was so hard to wrap my head around the idea that from a sheet of nothing, nothing that looked like a car, it had made a car. Looked like a car I would make, but it looked like a car. And I remember thinking to myself, okay, it's going to take a while. And it didn't. It took a couple years. Iterated. Now we got faster and faster printers. However, in many ways, just like AI or whatever, 3D printing has hit that problem where the materials they're using are the slowdown, whether it be the coolness and heat of the material, the brittleness. I mean, I have a lot of 3D material for my airsoft guns and my real guns. Nothing that would, that like takes a bunch of shock on the real ones. But I love the idea of being able to 3D print something for my controller headset. Dude, yep. So there's a headset that breaks a lot of times. No lie, somebody made a goddamn 3D printed entire top that was just the right plastic material. I was like, I'm going to buy that just to see if this works. And it works. It's insane. It works. And you can't, there's no replacement available. So you're buying the whole device. But I thought 3D printers would be I thought that they would really explode. And but the material part is like, and we should have known because the material part's real life hard inside of a fab. I worked in fabs. It's like, if it was that hard in a fab, why would it magically be easier at your house? It's not going to be.
Yeah. The material is a problem.
Yeah.
The 3D modeling is a big barrier as well.
Yeah.
You have to be really damn good at doing that to actually create something custom.
Yeah.
And the amount of stuff that you can find out there is kind of unreliable. A lot of times you have to pay for it too, right?
Yeah.
And it's like finding the exact thing is oddly difficult because you would think, this is a solved problem. Everybody needs a headphone band in your example. Right. But actually, finding the exact thing you need would be almost impossible. It's like an intractable problem because there's so many variations of anything
you are right for. It's an infinite, like even a headset, if you just had one part that had an issue, the chance of, admittedly, the problem I had was a known manufacturing issue, so therefore it was made. But it's a Mandelbrot set. no matter how deep you go, you could go deeper into that problem. You know what I mean? So you are right. It is it's like an infinite number of possibilities. The only thing you can do now is you can hire people to make the item, which I thought was cool. So if you have something broken, you can go online, ship them the item. They will quite literally look at the item, put it together, do the measurements, and then send you back the item repaired. And I thought that was awesome. Yeah.
And admittedly, AI can help with that too. You know,
For sure.
you could explain to it exactly what you want and go like, hey, just 3D model this for me.
You could, but
ship it.
You still have a problem with materials for 3D printing. Like it's still stuck with.
That's always gonna be
Ridge has
tough.
got them. He's got a good 3D printer. People on Discord, I'm sure people in here, people have 3D printers that work fairly well. But if it's cold or hot, like okay, here's the thing, Johnny. We talk about cold and heat with your, let's say your PC, and it can overheat. So you've got a cooler on it, and you're good to go. Weirdly enough, with like 3D printers, it's even more susceptible to not only that, it's the heat. Do you leave it inside? Because some of them do the open bed, some do closed bed. If it's open, it's more susceptible to the weather. It can get dirt in it. It can, you know what I mean? And then you only have a small size. We don't have a 3D printer the size of a room. Because if we did, I'd be printing out fucking lazy boy chairs and shit and putting some pads on them. But at the same time, dude, it's fucking fascinating that I printed out new keys for my keyboard. I wanted a specific key. I was like, I couldn't find it, and the keyboard was no longer made. I wasn't paying $80 on eBay to get this keyboard. But somebody had made it. They had the keyboard, like the blueprints for it or whatever, and I was like, because this keyboard has changeable keys, but it's very, very slim in the other companies that make keys for it. And I was like, dude,
that feels like magic if you find, I
saw somebody print a dog's harness for a dog that had back legs that didn't work. We see this at stores. You can go in and buy the harnesses. This dog, though, had a nubbin, as I call it, but he had one leg had half the leg. And so a lot of them will chafe or they'll cause issues with half a leg. They're usually like no legs, both legs, whatever. You can sort of buy something and put a pad in there to stop their legs from coming out. Person went online and was like, I need this material, but I also need the support to do this so it holds the leg so that leg doesn't get hurt over a long period of time. And I was just like, that's magical. Or let's say you have somebody who's an older family member and there's specific things they need. The idea that once they get bigger, but you'd be able to print stuff, you'd be able to adjust your house in a way that makes your house worthwhile keeping versus selling. Do you know how many people look at buying a house and you find out, or selling a house? This is Rory as well, the guy from Europe who's like genius level when it comes to psychology and marketing. But one of the things he was talking about was buying a house. And he said he wished people bought other things like they buy houses or vice versa, because the way we choose houses is just really weird. And we will give up the craziest shit because the house is in a place we think it looks good in. All the other stuff, like you don't buy a car most of the time to say, boy, that looks really good in my driveway. You would buy the car because you're like, it's fun to drive and it looks good. But there's this checklist that he was talking about. And I was sitting there going, oh, fuck, that dude's right. Or the fact that some people will move, even if it costs them a huge penalty in cash, they will move because of one room not having the exact dimensions that they like. Let's say it's too long or whatever. Now we're at the point to where you could quite literally, whether putting up shit, Asian shades, which is what I used to use in my smaller apartment, or put something up to where you can change the shape of the room much more easily, or you can change something, put the TV. You were talking about getting monitor mounts. You can 3D print monitor mounts to fit any weird ass situation. Would I do it? No, I would not, because I saw that look. But I'm saying you can.
Yeah, true.
You can.
True, I wouldn't trust it.
I wouldn't trust.
Do you think it would be possible to print like metal or print?
Oh, you can print some metals, but you can't. You can't print anything that requires a forge-like temperature because it has to get. I mean, that's the actual steps you need. But what they're trying to do is come up with other chemicals that, when mixed, make like a polymer that is as strong. As. Have you seen the houses where they fucking pour them, the concrete houses where they use a robot and they just pour a concrete house? That shit's crazy.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Damn.
You pay the company. You're like, I want a house. You can tell it where nooks and crannies go. Inside the wall bookshelves, whatever. And it's just a poured house, and because it's concrete and the way they put the insulation in the concrete, its temperature doesn't go up and down near as much as a real house. So that means it'll be cool like a basement in the summer, warmer in the winter, like crazy shit. And you just see them pouring it. And it's taken a while for them to get it more and more, but you start to see these improvements that are fantastic to, let's say, nobody's going to want to do this, but let's say a cheaper home. The reason why I say that is because then somebody's going to say, well, you're stopping home builders from being paid. And it's like, yeah, but I mean, if it's $800,000 or 150,000, it's like at some point, I feel like we're trying to protect everything. It's like at some point, it is just progress.
So you're saying the sci-fi theme of like 3D printing a house.
It is a done deal. It is happening as we speak. Yeah. You can go onto YouTube. 6-7 years ago, they were starting it, and now there's multiple companies that are doing it. They started in other nations. They started in different places. They started as test beds, but you're starting to see it. Remember the cozy homes? Have you seen those?
Yeah.
Where like, so my wife's best friend, her and her husband make, I guess that's what you call them, cozy homes, but they're super, super small.
Yeah.
And
compact
and
houses.
Those ones can't really be replaced by concrete because of the brittleness, all that. So like places, things like that, structurally, it's going to make total sense. But when you start looking at these giant houses and you start seeing their prices, it's pretty ridiculous how much. I mean, dude, we were thinking of moving a couple years ago. So glad I didn't. But the cost was, I mean, you would have thought I was Elon Musk. Like I was looking at the cost going, I don't even understand how that number is on a piece of paper without somebody having a heavy fine for being like, illegal. And so it was ridiculous how much it cost. So I love the idea of being able to build stuff for people because,
yeah, I
mean, there's things you could build or temporary buildings, floodplains, like in America, or not floodplains, but in America where like Florida gets, like
it's like just
disaster
relief.
Can we find a way
stuff
to build houses way faster, please? Because they ship in the temporary housing, but it's like those things. I went to school and had classes in those pieces of shit. They ain't the same as like a home or even a mobile home. So yeah, it's cool shit, man. Like I think that's going to be like one of the places like building stuff. 3D printing excites the shit out of me. Starbucks just 3D printed their first building in Texas.
Huh. I'll have to look into that.
I always feel like 3D, I don't know, the faster something is, the more unnatural I feel it is. And I feel like it's just cancer causing. So like when somebody says that like they pour a house, I'm here talking about how cool it is. And at the same time, I'm like, but breathing inside there might not be the best. I mean, it's obviously. Let's see. I'm concerned about when it's abused, like 3D printers could potentially create polymer guns. Oh, I don't worry about that shit. That shit's already happening, bud. Sorry. That's come and gone. There's already 3D printed guns have been used in murders. Like that's cyberpunk. We're past that. Like it sucks. It sucks. And by the way, was it Enemy of the State? No. Clint Eastwood, John Malkovich prints and then hedges down a polymer gun and tries to shoot the president. Clint Eastwood saved him. Somebody's going to know what I'm talking about. It's a great movie. Rene Russo was love interest. Clint Eastwood back before he was absolutely balls ass crazy. It was a really good movie.
Wow.
Yeah.
By the way, quick side question. Imagine a shard of ice, like a frozen ice shard, right? And you murder someone with that. Is that the ultimate murder weapon?
I thought so, but I found out it's not.
No?
No. They can tell. There was actually, I think it might have been Mythbusters, or it might have just been a science video. Yeah, it might have been a YouTube. It might have been Kyle Hill, matter of fact. It was one of the YouTubers I watched. But they covered it, and they were saying that like it's actually quite easy to tell if it's ice because of the striations on skin and what would be in the wound and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, I hadn't even thought about that. I mean, it would be confused for a while for some things, but there's a particular point in which you can
like your DNA would still
your
show
DNA
up and stuff.
Your DNA in a liquid base, dude, you would shed more DNA. Because you couldn't put a plastic glove on because your hand would slide.
Yeah.
So you would have to do
like parts of your,
I've always thought about
there's
the
gonna be
plastic,
some particles
the
of
glass
you in
bullet,
there.
but they tried that on Mythbusters and Myth busted it. They used
really?
they used the ice bullet, and they were like, yeah, they used a frozen steak bullet. Did you see that one? Yeah, there's a Mythbusters.
No.
They used a frozen steak. I don't know why. Maybe because they thought if somebody gets shot, it would be like mixed in the meat of them, and people would confuse it for, like human or something. I don't know why they did. I don't remember. It was Mythbusters. They did some weird shit, but. Yeah, I always like the idea of frozen bullets, but I mean,
yeah, man.
It's glass, not metal. Or sorry, it's ice, not metal. And unless you made it in a certain shape, ice is going to shatter. Like it's not going to. Metal does not. Have you ever seen somebody do like the 50 caliber against body armor? Good, or vehicle armor, and they'll just show it. It's still in one piece a lot of times, and ice wouldn't do that. It just fall apart. But the metal, the shred, you'll see it go like, and it'll balloon out. But a lot of times it doesn't explode, where ice would explode. I think ice is, how do we get away with a perfect murder? I think, wait a minute. Nope. Dude, that's interesting. Like what?
Yeah.
And now
what
I don't
is the
know.
ultimate
What would
murder
be the
weapon?
ultimate murder?
So that it can't be traced back to you. People can't determine what exactly killed the victim.
A water pressure hose, the high ones that can kill you. So
really, are there like such powerful?
There's
ones?
water. Yeah. You wouldn't want one from a washing a truck, but you see the ones that cut steel. That'd kill a person.
Ooh.
So like you'd have to get the person under it. You'd be like, "Hey man, can you put your head? Hey buddy,
or
hey,
like
buddy,
a fireman hose, maybe."
No, that wouldn't kill you, but they hurt. No? They hurt. I've been shot with fire. They hurt. they hurt. Yeah, really bad. And you see those guys like leaning, right? You'd be like, they're almost fucking vertical. Silverhand in our Discord is a fireman. And we were laughing about that one time when he was in voice chat. I was like, what's it like? And he's like, man, those things, if they're cranked, you gotta really,
like a bitch.
Yeah, you can't like stand normal. If you can hold them, but you have to be prepped. It's almost like a gun if you're not prepared, and it's a bigger caliber.
Big recoil.
Yeah, it'll push you back. But yeah, dude, sometimes those things are crazy. Somebody's saying a reprogrammed Segway to kill somebody. That's a good idea. Oh, wait a minute, a reprogram. You could probably get a reprogram. See, the problem is these guys can track where you program shit, where it picked up its signal from, when it was programmed. Dude, compressed air. If you were able to get somebody close, you could easily kill them with compressed air. It would have to be insane amounts. Like I don't even know the number, but that would be like the only. But they would look at it and go, I feel like there's always somebody who would look at it and go, if we can't track exactly what it is, it has to be this over here, as in this unique thing. And when you think outside the box, you just created a box, right? You inverted the pixels on your mask in Photoshop. And it's like, the moment you did that, you'd be like, oh, well, that's an air compressor then, because it's leaving nothing. It's making a certain wound type. It's air.
Yeah.
People are smarter than us. I've just figured that out.
True.
I feel like we would never be able to plan a perfect
murder.
You
could just burn someone alive. Like, sorry. Okay, maybe you kill them first to be humane. But
no.
in this framework.
But dude, look at arson. Look at arson investigators. They know exactly what chemicals are used.
They know.
They track like burn tracks on like ash, and they'll be like, actually, it started over here. It burned really quick at this ash area. Then it burned slow. Then there was an accelerant here. But I think what you're saying is like to hide all traces. But I feel at that
what
point,
if you have a furnace like in a
dude,
factory?
This is getting dark. What are we talking about? This is like Freddy Krueger shit. So you get it, but dude, teeth don't burn. Like that's why whenever anybody gets at a funeral home, whenever they turn them to ash, they'll still be bone pieces.
Okay, so you have to carefully remove all the.
It's so dark. All right. So man. Anyway, do we have anything else before we wrap it up? That went dark, super fast.
Excellent.
I think that's
that's about it. I think we solved it.
I think we're good killers. I think that nobody be able to figure out what if you killed them with ice and then you put them both inside of the furnace.
Just remove the teeth.
Oh,
just
man.
Remember.
Dude, it's
remove
so
the
wrong.
Teeth.
And investigators, one thing I do love real quick is I love watching the investigative documentaries, and they'll be like, this person died 47 years ago and we found the killer. And you're like, how the fuck do you find a killer 47 years
dude.
later? And then they'll describe it and they'll be like, blah, 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 blah. But then we saw this one purchased item that's a particular lollipop in this store, which is sold by it was only sold at this time over here. So we tracked those people. We found out that there's an ATM nearby. We tracked all the purchases on that.
Cross-checked it with this and that.
Dude, and you're just like, and the amount of manpower. Have you ever seen the videos, the real videos of like a crash investigation or a true, if it's a true department looking for a killer? I mean, it's just this mass of people, you know, of like people doing one thing. And that would be it would be sad, but it would be such a cool, it would be so cool to be in a group like that where everybody's trying to find that one POS and you're doing, that's why I love detective shows, because they're all like,
true.
Bloodhounds.
Yeah.
So like we're gonna find this guy after 47 years. Of course, most of it doesn't.
Me too.
Anyway,
it's all bullshit.
It is all bullshit. I mean, it's not all bullshit because you see the occasional documentary, but the channel would be called Murders We Found After 47 Years, and it would just be a channel filled with documentaries if it happened all the time. There's a reason why we don't see a lot of documentaries called that, right?
Yeah.
Like otherwise, we'd all be figuring it out. Anyway, that's it for us. Thank you very much for sitting down, watching, hanging out. I hope you guys all have an awesome weekend, awesome week. If you work the weekend, what are you going to stream, Johnny? Or are you doing?
Probably doing some League over the weekend, finishing Death Stranding. And the next thing next week will be Wu Chang. Probably will be streaming some Wu Chang as well.
Very cool. Very cool. And next week, what do we got? Yeah, you will see a video from me as well, 1 or 2. Peace out, everybody. I hope you guys have an awesome week. If you want, check out the Patreon, and I would love for you to actually go and give this a thumbs up and spread the word. Peace out.
See ya.